I'd like to remind us to send in our comments and our questions to the WhatsApp number displayed onto the screens. And anything happening in and around you, your neighborhood, your vicinity, you can share with us and we will do well to discuss it here. Yes, you can also send your comments to our Facebook or YouTube live stream. But for now, let's get into what's happening. My co-hosts are here with me in the persons of Mr. Clement Yabankwe and Mr. Nanayawa Asare. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Era.
How are we doing?
By grace.
So July is ending.
Yeah.
What's up?
I don't know, Clement, you'd want to take this one first.
Nana,
I would say July was your month.
Oh, July was our month.
Yes,
was our month. So I would say July has been very good. July has been very good. We hope to see more greater things in the month of August. So that is what we are just hoping, And Nana, I believe that the month of July, as last time I said, the 7th month, and which represent the month of perfection, the month of rest, indeed has brought a lot of rest to the life of Ghanaians. One is the aspect of the media budget that was presented last week, Thursday, and a lot of people are talking about it, that it really solved or talked about the economic happening. If it is so, then I would say that indeed July has been good.
Well, about the same idea, and I don't think everyone is actually siding with 100% that it's actually come to solve a lot of issues, considering the fact that it was actually touted that salary increments have been capped at 10%. So Labour is actually listening to this and then saying that, well, that was not what we were promised at the negotiations when John Mahama came to sit and then talked about when it comes to let's all manage this 10%, and then when we go next year we'll be able to renegotiate. But then we are hearing that salary that increments have been capped at 10%, and this is due to IMF constraints and all that. We know that there were IMF constraints before the negotiations started, so we're thinking that, well, within this particular period, something would have been done. So Labour is not happy entirely with the mid-year or mid-term budget review, as we are hearing about it. So the 10% is something that we have to talk about, considering the fact that inflation rate is still around 13%. And when we say inflation rate, some people say that it's dropped from the 50s in the late 2022s and now, or 2023s, and now has dropped to 13%. So it's a sign. But inflation doesn't mean prices are reducing, or the inflation rate reducing doesn't mean prices are reducing. But it's actually the rate at which the prices are increasing that it's reducing. So if the inflation rate is greater than the 10% increment cap that you have set, then still we are not helping Labour when it comes to making sure that they maintain the same standard of living, and then they have the same level of disposable income. So these are some of the questions that are being asked around it, and I'm sure Labour and then the Ministry of Finance will actually have a tripartite meeting with the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission and all those responsible to make sure that an end is, or maybe some headways found around this particular situation.
So with regards to the capping at the 10%, me, I'm with him. So is it 10% annually or 10% per government term?
No, capping means that is the maximum.
That's the maximum.
That's the maximum. So if you want to increase your salary, they won't increase it beyond 10%. So it can be 5%, 8%, can be 10%, but not beyond 10%.
Now, in the frames of time, how often are we, expected to see this 10%? If we are getting it, let's say, quarterly, the capping may work in the sense that quarterly, that's 4. So in a year, 40% increment.
This was said concerning next year's, how do you call it?
Okay,
salary
so it's not
increments.
something fixed, because I was thinking that since it's been capped, maybe there's going to be a duration, because I know that generally I think annually, there's a little added to basic salaries, basic pays, at least with most institutions. So with this 10% from the government, I remember, I think During the final term of the previous government, we had the 25% all at once. We had the 23 and then the 2%, no, 3%, no, 23 and then 2%. Yeah. Now with this one, they're capping it at 10%. That's the maximum, right? I'm asking, is it 10% per year?
Exactly. So it's 10% for the whole of 2026. That's what is being touted.
No.
So yeah, right. On the other side of when you look at the media budgets, it's all about dealing with expenditure, and the government's intention is to deal with this deficit that we've been having in our budget. So I think that was the broader picture they looked at. But as Nana is saying, Labour should go back and have a talk with the Ministry of Finance, and let's see what will come out of it. Because the people are also saying that there should be more cuts even into some enjoyment of our ministers and other things, in as much as they are taking their allowance and all these things. So I believe that Labour should set what they want on the table, and let's see the way forward.
More so is a feeling of, let's say, betrayal from Labour's perspective, that we came here and then you told us that let us all manage, and even the president himself came, let's all manage this 10% for this particular year, and let's trust the fiscal policies that we've put in place to make sure that the inflation rate reduces, to make sure that, because we are just coming into power, and then this is what we can actually do for you. By then, it should remind you that inflation rate, by the time the negotiations were going on, was in excess of 30%, 40%. That is at the end of, and then Labour agreed that, you know what, you are a new government, you are in power, let's all help us. So everyone agreed. So 10% is for this particular year, and then at the end of the year, it will be renegotiated. Only for a midterm review for you to say that you're capping next year's
at 10%.
At 10%.
10%, the whole year.
I want to say something.
Okay.
When we look at the media budget review, on the aspect of payroll audit, and we have a very big issue there. And I believe that all the agencies that see to this payroll management need to put their feet down. And because if the amount of money that goes under this payroll is being saved, that amount of money could equally be used to increase salaries of ordinary Ghanaians.
Yes.
You think that people are taking advantage of that, and they are squandering money. So I believe that all agencies involved need to come to the table. Labour should speak to each agency involved in all this kind of things, so that all this money will be saved, given to government. And as I say, when they go to the drawing board and they are negotiating, government will look at this money that has come, and they will increase or they uncap it so that everybody enjoys on the broader picture.
I think you got a spot on there. This has brought to mind a meeting that I attended on Monday by the Controller and Accountant General at Labadi Bichota. They had a press briefing when in Ghana at the moment, it's actually ending today. All the Controller and Accountant Generals in the top African countries are here. And then the issue of ghost names came out. And then Mr. J, he came, Kwesi J, that's the controller, he came and he mentioned that brilliant measures that the government is putting in place, or a controller is putting in place to make sure that they are curbing these ghost names. And then he then highlighted the fact that it's people that within this particular system that know how to go behind the validation process to make sure that they can make headway. For instance, we are hearing that the NIA and then the controller's database, although you use your Ghana card to register, it's not entirely linked. So you can have your Ghana card or maybe a falsified Ghana card, and then since it's just a document for approval, it can actually go through. So that's another issue that was raised, and he said that they are working very hard to make sure that is kept. But that notwithstanding, when you look at the amount of money that is sipped through the Ghanaian economy every year from corruption, when the E-levy was about to be passed, the same question came up. We lose, Ghana's government loses over $3.7 billion annually, billion United States dollars annually due to corruption. So if you can actually look at this particular figure, 3.7 billion US dollars through corruption. If this can be channeled into something that can be productive, if let's say even half, we can definitely work something around it. So these are certain areas that we ourselves, we are killing ourselves. So unless measures and then are put in place to make sure that that is kept, we have a long way to go when it comes to that.
So let's go into the newspapers quickly, and then we can come to the online stories.
Okay. I have the graphic business. I think one of the story on the front page of the graphic business is the fact that monetary policy rate has been cut down to 25%. This is something the business community have been calling for. Finance experts have been calling for that government should look at the monetary policy rate. And finally, it has been cut down to 25%. And the another story is that IMF endorses media budget review. And also, we have another story that talks about Stanbic Bank calls for reforms to sustain the economic gains we have. And the last story that talks about time to rethink sustainable funding and facility management, that is in terms of our reforms. And we have another story that talks about GSE CI jumps 4.48% in the latest trading week. So these are the story-making headlines to the graphic business. And there's another story about the fact that there's going to be funding, or let's say, for the sporting sector of our Ghanaian economy. And I think Nana would equally look at that. That's what the sports minister made us know, that in as much as we have a lot of, fund, we have road fund, we have this fund, we have this fund. So he also believed they should have sports fund so that they can also solve these issues that we have in our country, of which I know Nana would actually talk about those
the
things.
Sports fund, being the woman here, also advocates it should, there should be more consideration for the female sports.
Yes, so ideally that's where, when you're having these kind of initiatives, you don't pay attention to the major known sports, but then you tend to turn your attention to the sports that need a lot of help to make sure that they are brought or make sure that they are, for instance, the 13th African Games that we held over here, the sports that won Ghana most medals was arm wrestling. So you realize that maybe it's something that we can actually capitalize on. Maybe if we put a lot of investment over there, Ghana can be known for arm wrestling on the world stage. So why don't we create a fund where we can actually be training people, both male and female. So some of these lesser known sports, for instance, the female national women's team, look at the exploits that they went to do. You realize that not the same sort of attention is given to them on the national scale. So the trust funds will sort of bring some of these issues out, the juvenile books and the attention that is required over there and all that. So,
I have one more question too regarding the sports and the fund for that. The issues concerning GFA over the years. How sure are we that we're not going to be seeing something similar with regards to the fund? This is a very hard question.
It's a very hard question because it's not about institutions. It's now become about people, the personalities behind them. We realized that Ghana was struggling to qualify for international tournaments, but then there was a change of the Black Stars Management Committee, and you realize that Ghana is almost qualifying to the World Cup. So you then think about the fact that, is it based on institutions? It's based on the human beings that and the makeup of the
exactly.
So it's not as though the structures are not in place. The structures are in place. Ghana Football Association is supposed to make sure that all these all these structures they play a major role in doing that. But then some individuals in there, if with their presence in there, will still not make it go as it's supposed to go. Maybe I'm just choosing my words carefully. I hope that the question is answered a bit.
So
so let's just touch a little bit on sports fund management. So Nana, I believe that this government has made it's plain. It has called a spade a spade.
Yeah.
If you mismanage any fund, they say they will deal with you.
Exactly.
So I believe that should be the way to go. Last Tuesday, Mr. Stephen Question said something that we shouldn't condone wrongdoing. If it is wrong, it is wrong. No matter who is involved, let's deal with the person. Let the law deal with the person. I think that should be the way to go, no matter who you are.
Right. So we have a comment here from HM Joe. He says, "Happy Cocolicious morning, lady and gentlemen." Happy Cocolicious morning to you too. So yes, Nana, what do you also have for us with your?
Well, before I go into my digitalized, I want to talk about one story that has that's also in the business sense. That gold exports for June 2025 has actually exceeded the total imports that Ghana has done, and this is a very good initiative. Gold exports now sums up to 61% of total exports of the country, and it shows that the gold board is working. Whatever means or strategies that they are putting there is actually working significantly very well. So you see that gold, it's actually going to help in our balance of trade. It's going to help strengthen the cedi as against other foreign currencies, especially the dollar. So this is something that we have to pay attention to and then monitor. So kudos to the gold board and what they are doing. So now let me go into my digitalized newsprint, which is the daily graphic. And then we have President Mahama has directed peace enforcement during the deliberations of the Boku conflict. That is what he said. And then remember that initially the efforts were peacekeeping efforts, but now he's changed it to peace enforcement. There are differences between these two. So we'll talk about the differences surely. And then BOG drops policy rate to 25%. This also on the front page of the daily graphic. And we'll talk about the fact that policy rate is at 25%, but 91 treasury bill rate is around 10.48%. And then 182 days around 13%. So these are discussions that we have to have, whether the policy rate should be below the treasury bill rate or the treasury bill rate should be below the policy rate. We'll talk about that as well. KNUSC and UNER qualify for Tertiary Business Science Challenge quarterfinals. That's TBSC quarterfinals. It was won last year by the University of Ghana Business School, my alma mater. And another one says GPCC, that's Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic. The group has called for peaceful by-elections in Akwetia. So these are the stories that are making rounds in the daily graphic, on the front page of the daily graphic. But Yara, I want to touch on some of the stories just a bit. We talked about Mahama saying that there should be peace enforcement instead of the peacekeeping. Now, a lot of people will be thinking that they are the same. But right now, he stepped it up a top notch. When you are in conflict resolution, there are different steps that you take. Initially, you try to go with the dialogue. You set up peacekeeping efforts. But if the peace is not still met, then now it's enforcement. The enforcement, peacekeeping is through dialogues and then your consent and this party's consent, and then it is done. But then with peace enforcement, we don't need your consent to actually come. So the military now will not need anyone's consent to go into this particular place to make sure that order is kept. And then that's one. And then it's also not neutral. So when they see that this particular party is making headway in making sure that peace is ensured, the military will back them to make sure that total peace is restored. So these are some of the things that we are supposed to expect or to see in the Boku conflict resolution.
Right, but then also I think the fact that they are enforcing peace should not override the fact that these are human beings who have rights. Because yes, it's no longer about consent, but you know how we've seen these things happen a number of times over the years, and we are trying to be a progressive nation, a human race that's also progressive. So, in as much as you're enforcing peace, come and infringe on people's rights.
The Boku conflict, the conflict in the Upper East region, has been on since time immemorial. Even in the early 90s. That's when this particular conflict reared its head up. And now, just some few weeks ago, we heard of the killing of the Kusasi chief.
So
we heard in the Nalerigu Senior High School, someone just walked in there, pulled two students out, and murdered them. In the Shaman, we've heard that some killings linked to the Boku conflict.
Let me make what I'm saying clear. You know how when we hear about peacekeeping in other nations and things, we hear of a lot of pillage, a lot of murder and rape from the bodies that are supposed to keep the peace. That is what I'm talking about. That when these bodies are sent there, they shouldn't take advantage of that to overly infringe on people's rights. In that, okay, because I'm now the peacekeeping body and things, I can do whatever. Peace enforcer.
Yes.
Then you enter into
so
people's
right now they've
homes,
left peacekeeping.
Loot things from there and things like that. That's what I'm talking about, because we've had that happen a number of times. We're not sure if that behavior is no longer in there. That's what I'm talking. So it's not about the fact that
that's true. But then the Ghana military, we can all
exactly. Ghanaian military is because I mean our grandparents don't have a lot of nice things to say about the Ghanaian military.
I mean, when we're in times of the coup, that they want to alter behavior into a particular direction, and coup d'etat is not the same as
but you know how when we were talking about the GFA and then the sports fund issue, you also mentioned the fact that it's about the human beings.
Yes, definitely.
Even though the institutions are in place. So now this institution is in place, but then the human beings. That's why I'm looking at that. For come and enforce the peace and don't.
For the military, we know them. We know what they can do.
Okay.
People even die on the battlefield. When you take the likes of, I think the one who died during exactly. He died on the battlefield. He could have shot whoever was there, but because of what he was doing, he died on the battlefield. So we know what our military people can do. For the aspect of human rights, I have colleagues who live at Koko. And sometimes when they call me, they'll be like, Clement, it's not easy. You can't even step out. So even as a result of what is happening there, it is infringing on people's rights. So the only rights we are supposed to do is to enforce the peace. So I think we've gone beyond letting peacekeeping people just wake up in the morning and just
go beyond that. Like,
I mean,
I think suffering. Don't come and add to their suffering. I don't know if you get the angle I'm coming from.
Well, I do understand, but there's always a price to pay for some of these things, and which will disrupt your. We've seen that curfew was actually, conferred over there, and then the people were supposed to be indoors by 6:30. That means economic activities, the people who sell Indomie by the streets and all that. Now they can't make money. So if they want to restore order, definitely there is a price to pay, and usually the price to pay is borne by these evil perpetrators. So sometimes we have to just let systems flow. And then also, when talking about the Ghana military, the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces is John Dramani Mahama. That's the president. And I don't think that orders from him would be in such a way that distort the peace, knowing that he comes not far from that particular area as well.
Well, then the order from above would be, in line with peaceful activities. So we have a comment from our very own Stephen Kwashi. Thank you so much for watching. He says, "Good morning, Koko Digest. My family is watching you live." Thank you so much for tuning in. And they say hello. Now let's go to the online stories. The very first one says, two Burkinabe nationals arrested for smuggling $1.7 million worth of gold at Paga border. Two nationals from Burkina Faso have been arrested and charged with offenses related to the illegal trade and transportation of gold. The announcement was made by the Interior Minister Muntaka Mubarak during the official handover of 17 gold bars worth an estimated $1.7 million from the Narcotics Control Commission, NACOC, to Ghana Gold Board, that is Gold Board that we know of. The gold was seized by NACOC officers at the Paga border post in the Upper East region.
So with this one, was it coming into the country or going out?
Going out.
Going out, okay.
So they've come to take the gold, they are going to use it for
because I know with Burkina Faso, they are also known for mining as well, quite a lot of gold in that particular area. So I'm sure because they are not able now to sell to foreigners in this particular country, and that has been made widely known to the Ghanaian populace and then all foreign nationals that trade in gold. So now they are trying to find ways to go with it. And then with our borders being this particular, this tight, then I think the Gold Board is going to record extra successes. So one of the major achievements of the Mahama administration right now, I can say is the gold board, because just look at the fact that usually when we are calculating balance of trade, we are always in deficits. But right now, just gold exports alone has exceeded total imports. So it shows that they are doing something right. That's why all the macroeconomic indicators are also in line with the performance. But then they shouldn't cap their salaries.
So I would say my first question is the narcotic control going to get the 10% that Gold Board? You see, Gold Board brought a statement that if we're able to report whistleblowers or get hold of people who are smuggling or dealing illegal gold, are they going to? That's my first question. Are they going to get 10% value of the gold so far? Aside that, I think, as Nana said,
that's $1.7 million. Yes, so that's approximately 170,000 United States dollars.
Exactly. So my question here is
$70,000.
$170,000.
Aside that, I think the security agents are doing very well.
Yeah.
We should keep on working for the good of the country. When we see something that is wrong, we should quickly report. We shouldn't wait because it's not affecting me. So we just be quiet and just observe. So I think that it's a good thing they are doing, and I say we should keep on doing.
Right. So the next story is about the electronic road tolls, and it says here electronic road toll will only be applied to roads that have been fixed, and this is by the Minister for Roads and Highways. So the Minister for Roads and Highways governs Kwame Agboja has said government will only apply collection of electronic road toll to roads that have been fixed. Speaking at the Government Accountability Series on Wednesday, July 30, the minister explained that roads which have not been fixed will be excluded, but the collection of tolls will commence on these roads once they have been engineered. We are hoping that this will be based on an electronic platform and there will be no physical barriers on any road, and the tolling will only be applied to roads that are engineered, meaning roads that have been fixed. So we don't intend to put any tolls on any rough road and other things. But when we make interventions, we can toll them and raise more money to maintain that and fix other roads in the country, he stressed. He disclosed that a proposed new toll rate has been submitted to Parliament through the Ministry of Finance to determine the new toll rate to be charged and when the toll is implemented. Cabinet has given approval for the reintroduction of road and bridge tolls with focus on modernizing the collection of these tolls, he stated. Now, you can find the rest of the story. It's pretty lengthy here, so we have a video and we'll just listen to our minister. Seems you have a little technical issue with video, so that will be rectified.
But I'm sure you just touched on majority of all that was supposed to have been discussed.
Electronic road tolls.
So my I know there's been a challenge on how to collect these road tolls, but just from the top of my head, every vehicle has a driving insurance. Every vehicle has roadworthy, right? So now, road tolls we've seen in our part of the world are not the best way to go about collection because it causes congestion, it causes a lot of stress, the means by which it's being collected, accountability, and all that. So now, what we are trying to say is that every car that is supposed to have been maybe to pay a toll, when that person is going to renew the insurance, I'm of the view that there should be, let's say, insurance, maybe a third-party insurance is not that expensive, relatively, 300, 400 cedis. So now, when you are going to renew your insurance, right, let's add a 5% charge on that and call it road toll. So let's say you are renewing your insurance, and then instead of it being, let's say, 300 cedis, you are now paying 320 Ghana cedis. And then that 20 is going to be sent to the Ministry of Roads and Highways or whoever collects the road tolls. And that is being used for our roads. I feel when you do this, you are not They are not doing any congestion. And then, insurance is actually checked by the police and by everyone that does it. And every vehicle will end up paying a quota, not necessarily the people who pass through the designated toll sites. So you end up collecting a lot more tolls, and then you end up getting a larger pool of funds for road development.
I think it's a very nice point from Nana.
I think we all have varying
on the other
this.
side, looking at situation of adding it to, let's say, insurance or the roadworks or other sectors, people will end up enjoying. They were saying that the rich will continue to be rich and the poor continue to be poor. Why? What happens to someone like me who lives, assuming, at a place where my road is so bad? Am I going to pay the same tolls with someone who lives somewhere at East Legon or someone a very nice place? When something like this happens, it's unfair for you to charge the whole population the same rate of tolls, because that is point number one, and the aspect of fairness. So when you look at the government initiative, as of May 2025, when the PRO was addressing the press on this very issue, he said that the aspect of fairness is going to be handled in a way where the electronic road tolls will be applied to only, as you said, fixed roads, engineered roads, so that it won't be like people living in East Legon who don't drive either crossing Kaswa or going to Tema side. If you don't go beyond either Kaswa or Tema, assuming this Accra area, you don't pay any road toll. Those days, you don't pay tolls, because that is where the toll booths were. So if you are living within Accra, driving within Accra for one good year, you don't pay. That has been the system over the years. So they are saying that no, that's not going to be the situation. So the target is that they are going to build 69 road tolls across the country, which is more than what we are having previously. That was around 39. The intention is not to put it like how it was initially, but to place it at roads which are well fixed. And I think that is a good point, because if you are investing in my area for roads, then I should be able to account for, or I should contribute something, especially to the maintenance or other thing. If my roads are not fixed and I'm expected to pay road tolls, and at the end of the day, traveling or exporting or transporting my goods from the farm to the marketplace takes me about 3-4 days, and I'm paying road tolls, and I'm not seeing any major improvement, what do you think Ghanaians will do? They will stop paying. That is where I remember what Mr. Nelson said when it comes to taxation. If what the money is being used for, we don't see it, compliance becomes a big problem. So I think that is one side I want to touch on.
So I want to also touch on the fact that it's going to be electronic, because I love the contributions, but I also want to talk about the fact that when we previously had the road tolls, there were people, it was a source of employment for the disabled, you know, the people who are usually at one place. And now making it electronic, I don't know, I don't know the full details, but it's like, yes, technology has come to make things easier, but technology should not come and replace, you know, the human resource. In the sense, I would like to learn, in the sense that instead of maybe some sort of machine that when you pass, maybe as a counter, like you're saying, maybe link it to your insurance or your driver's license, or as a counter, maybe your Momo, then once you pass the 5 CDs taken off, why not rather have an automated system and have these people who have been out of job since the road tolls were taken man these systems, and then the accountability can be there. So quite like a cashier in a supermarket or a shop, when a payment is made, it's inputted into the system. So at the end of the day, at the end of any given time, you know the amount of money that will be taken. This can also now help the people who no longer have jobs, whose source of livelihood was being a road toll manager, now getting back into the system, but with a upskilled. Now you probably know how to use a computer at least to the best of, to just for to meet the capacity at which you are working, maybe pressing the numbers into the thing, they can get employed again. So instead of now you know how, yes, like I said, you pass and then it's taken off and then it's just there. Then also the physical road tolls, I think they need to exist. In that, when you're on, let's say, the Insawam Road, you see where the very wide one is. Look at
the Kutunse.
Yes, that's. I don't really know the names of the places.
It's called Kutunse. The Kutunse. That's where the road to.
You realize that Ghanaians tend most motorists, tend to speed when the road is very good. Now these road tolls being tend to slow down the traffic, and then also I don't think there are that many footbridges and things there. So
there are quite a number now.
Yes, but I think at that some of the spaces in the footbridges. So there are going to be times where some pedestrians will still be crossing.
Looking at the build-up of the road that they are actually doing, it's like crossing through. Have you used the Achimota overhead? So you definitely have to use the bypass. There's no way that you're going to use there's no way you can actually cross through that side.
Pedestrians.
But before Clement,
reducing traffic is also very, very necessary in that the way sometimes our motorists tend to speed because the road is
no, but reducing speed. I want to tackle this
I know you say speed bumps.
No, not speed bumps, but because you can't put speed bumps on the highway. So there are ways that you have to think about this: reducing speed and then also avoiding
overspeeding.
Reducing overspeeding and then avoiding congestions. So now these are things that we have to consider. So the road tolls. In as much as possible. Let me. I've built my thoughts. So let me start from where Clement said before I'll come to what you said. Clement talked about the issue of fairness. So when it comes to fairness, I like to take it in two parts. Right? There is the issue of equity, and then there is the issue of equality. Now you look at the issue of what Clement talked about, summed up the issue of equality perfectly. That if you are not paying, if you are not applying this particular route, or it's not done completely, then you are not supposed to pay tolls. But then I feel that when it comes to nation building, right, just as taxation, we like to employ the use of equity, where it doesn't necessarily need to be equal, but it should definitely be in a way that everyone will sort of feel the impact, and then towards nation building. Because you look at some of these places I mentioned, East Legon, where they have good roads, it's asserted that, or it's assumed that the people that live in these particular communities, if you should ask every person driving a car to pay an extra 20 cedis on insurance, they'll be well enabled to do that in comparison to the people that live in other areas. And I also think that for you to be driving a car, for you to be buying fuel every time, your insurance is renewed either 6 months or a year. In paying 20 cedis, 30 cedis, 40 cedis for 6 months road toll, it shouldn't necessarily be an issue if it means to make sure that we can effectively collect revenue, because this insurance are being done mostly by private institutions, and they can be held accountable for the amount of insurances that they've actually done, and then the road tolls that have been maybe generated from that particular insurance companies. So that's one way that I wanted to see. And now we talked about the people. Yara mentioned the people that are losing their jobs, disability. And Yara, when you go to I'm sure Clement has a lot of avenues, or maybe that the government is creating for jobs and employment and all that for these categories of people. But then it shouldn't be at the detriment of national development, right? So we are trying to make sure that there's free flowing, there's no congestion and all that. And these people are sitting there and then counting. Sometimes you go, you don't have change. And so we are in the 21st century. We are gone way beyond that. Other countries that we are modeling our development against have gone past that stage, and they've developed means that actually work. We are seeing the CHIPS compound creation. We are seeing all these initiatives by the government. Some of these people can actually go there and then go and work. Imagine the person, a disabled person, the kind of stress that they have to go through to make sure that they get into that booth, because some of these toll booths are on highways. So not
disability friendly.
Yes, it's not exactly. So that was also another issue that has to be taken care of. And then the last point was Yara. When you what did Yara even I've actually lost my train of thought.
He was talking about the traffic. I think
Yeah,
traffic is
Yes,
overspeeding.
so overspeeding and all that. We can't build speed bumps on highways.
No,
There
it
are-
was just that one. It was,
Yes.
we can't put that there. Yes.
But then there are speed limits, and then also now that we have we are sort of trying to make tolls electronic. That means we'll find means to make sure that driver speeds and all that can be captured. If you can actually pass, and then a deduction will be taken into your momo, then we can actually see when you overspeed or you pass go beyond the speed limits. So some of these measures are what are being put in place in other countries.
I said that because sometimes it seems humans in general don't. It seems at some point sometimes you don't leave human beings to apply common sense. You need to
that is
apply
true.
it for them.
That
so
is very true.
that's where I'm coming from because I mean. We were here in this country when people were demonstrating for, went on demonstrations for footbridges. Now, these footbridges were created,
they don't use it.
And they don't use them. And people had to stand there with canes to get you to go back. So that's why
you're talking about your area.
Please talk about my neighborhood. That's why I'm speaking about the physical road tools. That yes, these people, we could put in measures in place for the capturing of overspeeding and things, but it may not be as effective because, especially if they can pay for it, they're fine. They'll pay and go. But maybe with a toll, you are now mandated to slow down, and then for at least maybe 5 minutes, you're not speeding. Somebody's car would have been saved from that. That's where I'm also coming from.
Yeah.
So just to touch on the issue of disability people. When
Disabled
people. When you look at the reason why this toll booths initially was taken off was the issue of traffic.
Yeah.
That is the major point.
The congestions was serious.
Was so
the
serious.
Kaswa people. I had pity on them.
Not only Kaswa people. That was a major concern.
The roads, I guess, are the expansion.
So
being honest.
if that is the major concern, they want to solve the issue. And I think electronic means is the way to go. Is the way to go. Point number 2 is the aspect of mismanagement of fund and accountability. It's true because
that's why I asked that we can employ both the electronic and
it was alleged that people were in charge at the various toll booths end up not rendering the right account, even though they'll give you tickets and all those kind of things. At the end of the day, it doesn't go to the books.
It's true. We had people printing their own tickets.
Exactly. That's what I was saying, that with the electronic one, you see that when it's paid, it's inputted straight into it, or whatever way, but just there has to be somebody to man it. So you cannot do these things because the system knows that, okay, this is how much we got. Unless they decide, Pacho, maybe the system is down, so we are taking it manually. That's when there will be a problem. I hope I haven't given anybody any ideas.
So I think another thing that this Minister of Roads said, and I'm so much impressed, is the fact that they want Ghanaian based companies to bid for this very project. At least if not even it's Ghanaian owned, it should be 51% ownership to Ghanaians, so that they would take up this initiative. And per the information we gathered yesterday, said close to 12 bids have been submitted to the Ministry of Roads, and they are still looking through it. Now after the
12 bids for 69 electronic tolls.
12 bids for the entire electronic toll transaction.
They should share it
So
for
they are
them.
now going to sit on it and see the way forward. And this toll, I think toll is very necessary because there's a lot of deficits when it comes to in terms of road funding. When this toll booth was being taken off somewhere 2 years ago, so his government is unable to provide for this Minister of Road funding. We've heard of a lot of contracts not being paid. We've heard a lot of issues, our poor road maintenance and stuff. So I believe that if this road fund or toll booths come to stay, or the electronic toll come to stay, all these issues are going to be resolved. So we are just hoping to see how things are going to turn.
I have a question. I'll end this segment with a question. Now, these tolls that are going to be put on only the engineered roads, what happens to the poor roads?
So that is
I want to finish my question. Is it that the monies acquired from the tolls on the engineered roads will be used solely to maintain these roads or
to fix?
Now, if they are going to be used to fix the bad roads, isn't there going to be a sort of complaint that I'm using my good road and paying for it? Why is my money going to fix somebody else's road?
There comes the issue of equity and equality once again.
And I think for this point, let me answer. There's a saying that the right hand takes care of the left hand. So do the left hand takes care of the right hand.
Yes.
So if the government has been able to fix your good road for you and you are using it and you are paying toll on it, what is being taken will be used to fix the other ones. Then a toll system will also be applied to that one.
So in hindsight, you're agreeing to what I said, that there should be equal equity, not necessarily equality.
Exactly.
So when people start complaining, I will refer them to both. Because there could be situations where maybe, you see, I think there have even been complaints that even the quality of our roads these days is not up to standard, allegedly. Yes. So the road has been constructed within a few years, 1 or 2 potholes. These potholes are not fixed. Then now other poor roads are rather being constructed, and then the people who man these roads now would probably start complaining.
There is news about new road fund bill, which will be presented to Parliament in September.
Okay.
Of which they said the main focus is to deal with maintenance of our roads. I think all these things would be captured
right
there. Yeah.
Then again to the roads to
about fixing roads. I remember sometime last year, an app was created by a particular ministry that you take a picture of your photo and all that. You see, some of these are the reasons why Ghanaians don't tend to trust our public service institutions and then the promises that they give. Because imagine that you've actually brought this, and this particular technology is in force in the UK. You can actually see a pothole around your house and then call, and literally the next day it will be fixed for you. But we tried doing it over here, and then I think they use the Presec overhead as a case study. And that was the end of it.
Well,
so it's difficult to trust public institutions if they keep doing this.
Issue, I don't know, maybe there should be some investigation about the contractors, because I've heard our parents talk about the fact that the roads built back in the day are seemingly still in good shape as compared to the newly constructed roads. So maybe something needs to be done about it. Then the maintenance costs would not be so much, because even now, I think the motorway, we look at the time the motorway was constructed, and look at when it is now seemingly, getting
the motorway is a total different discussion altogether.
No, in because that the quality.
So the quality is there, but then it was concrete that was used. But now when you look at the people patching it, they're using quota. so I think yes, that's a whole level of discussion.
That's something that needs to be looked at critically.
And then another thing that people are saying is that if you're a constructor and then you finish this particular road, we should put a big signboard or a billboard with your company's address and all that. Because you know that when they're doing construction, they actually put it there.
Those things there.
So now we'll put it there and we'll make sure that it is there for about a year or two for us to monitor the progress of the road that you've done. And most of the time, contractors make the roads usable when it's not 100% done. 100% done in the sense that there are no road markings on it, the street lights are not in place, the sidewalks, pavements are not done. Once they do the quota and all that, then they are going to
go. And then they leave the islands, the sand. Well, wrapping up, we have a pretty lengthy comment here, then we will go into the next segment. This one says, good morning, Koko Digest. Interesting discussion. To my contribution, Ghana's road toll automation system is set to revolutionize the way tolls are collected, making it more efficient and convenient for drivers. Now, here are some key points about the system according to our minister. The very first one is digital toll collection, and this system will use cameras to capture vehicle plates and automatically deduct fees from the owner's mobile money or bank account. Now, Ghana card linkage. Every vehicle will be linked to its owner's Ghana card, eliminating the need for physical toll booths and manual transactions. Now, the third one is cashless payments. So toll fees will be deducted directly from mobile money or bank accounts, reducing congestions and inefficiencies, meaning the government won't use people with disabilities anymore. This is Eric Ado from Pokwasi. So, Eric, you are literally saying the same thing I'm saying. They said they'll find jobs for people
No,
with
no, but there are
disabilities.
different. There are so many initiatives now. 1 million coders program.
I mean,
the CHIPS compound. A lot of avenues for employment now.
right. So, I mean, this has been an interesting conversation and very varied opinions. Thank you so much for joining me here. Up next is the lifestyle segment, and we're going to be discussing our site and the screen time that we are always, like I have my tablet here, you're also behind your TV, yes, the cameras and things, yes. So we'll be talking about safeguarding your site, what is happening, especially when you spend too much time on the screens and everything related to that. So I'm sure you'll be very interested in that. Miriam and her guest will be here right after this break. So call a friend, text a friend, and join in the conversation. We will be right back.
Hello, lovely viewers. Good morning and welcome to the Sports Update segment. Here we bring you nothing but the best in the world of sports, and we are covering not just the action of local football, but also international sports. My name is Benedict Nketiah, and today I'm your host. Now to the headlines. Asante Kotoko and Gold Stars discover their preliminary opponent on August 12. Government to select schools for sports development. President Mahama. Leon Merchant shatters 200 meters IM world record at Swim Worlds. And the NBA plans to hold games in London and Manchester. Main story. The Confederation of African Football, CAF, has announced that the draw for the preliminary rounds of the 2025-2026 CAF Champions League and Confederation Cup will be held on August 12, 2025 in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. According to an official statement, the first leg matches are set for August 15th to 18th, with the return legs from August 22nd to 25th, 2025. Ghana will see BBN Gold Stars in the CAF Champions League, fresh off their Ghana Premier League win, while Asante Kotoko, the recent FA Cup champions, will enter the CAF Confederation Cup. President John Dramani Mahama has revealed plans to transform certain schools into specialized sports development institutions. During a meeting with the Ghana Football Association and the Black Queens, Mahama emphasized the need to foster young talent through structured sport within the education system. The initiative aims to help young athletes balance their studies with high-level sports training. The announcement comes after Ghana's Black Queens secured a bronze medal in the 2024 Women's African Cup of Nations, their first since 2016. Now to our international sports news. Leon Marchand has broken the world record in the 200-meter individual medley at the World Championships in Singapore, clocking 1 minute 52.61 seconds. This surpasses the previous record of 1.54 seconds set in 2011 by American Ryan Lochte. The French swimmer achieved this in the semi-finals, with the potential to break the record again in Texas finals. Marchand, who won the 4 Olympic gold medals in Paris last year, is focusing on the 200 and 400 medley. Plus relays in Singapore. He holds a 400 IM record at 4.02.50 seconds set in 2023 and is expected to challenge it again. The NBA is making a comeback to the United Kingdom. London will be hosting a regular season game on Sunday, January 18, 2026 at the O2 Arena. The teams going head-to-head will be the Orlando Magic and Memphis Grizzlies. This marks the first NBA game in the UK since January 2019, when the Washington Wizards played the New York Knicks. Manchester will also get in on the action, hosting a regular season game in 2027 at the Co-op Live. The teams for the Manchester game will be announced before the start of the season. And that is it for the Sports Update segment. My name is Benedict Nketiah. Next is the business segment with Clever Nyaban.
Good morning, welcome to the Business Update segment. I am Clement Yabankwe. Now, on to our stories. Ghana's total public debt declined by 139 billion Ghana cedis in the first half of 2025, dropping from 752.1 billion Ghana cedis in January to 613 billion Ghana cedis by the end of June. According to recent data from the Bank of Ghana, this improvement in the country's debt position is credited to a combination of stable currency performance, nominal GDP growth, and reduced domestic borrowing. On the same story, despite a slight increase from 612.1 billion Ghana cedis in May, the overall trajectory remains downwards. However, external debt continues to make up the largest portion of the debt portfolio, placing strains on foreign reserves and increasing the economy's vulnerability to exchange rate fluctuations and global interest rate exchange.
By June, Ghana's external debt had reached 300.3 billion Ghana cedis, representing 21.4% of GDP, a slight rise from 296.2 billion Ghana cedis in May. In dollar terms, it stood at 29.1 billion United States dollars, a reflection of ongoing exposure to exchange rate volatility and high cost of servicing foreign debt. On the domestic front, debt fell slightly to 312.7 billion Ghana cedis from 315.6 billion Ghana cedis in May, accounting for 22.3% of GDP. This suggests progress in fiscal consolidation and a slowdown in local bond issuance. The total public debt to GDP ratio held at 43.8% as of June, a sharp decline from 66.8% during the same period last year. This improvement is largely due to GDP rebasing and government's microeconomic stabilization measures.
Now, on Ghanaian cedi performance, the Ghanaian cedi has shown remarkable appreciation against major foreign currencies in the first 7 months of 2025, strengthening by 40.7% against the United States dollar. Data from the Bank of Ghana's Summary of Economic and Financial Data, July 2025, indicates the cedi was trading at 10.45 Ghana cedis to dollar on the interbank market by the end of July.
The strongest gains were recorded in May and June, appreciating by 43% and 42.6% respectively. It also made significant advances against other major currencies, rising by 25.6% and 24.2% against the euro in June and July, and by 30.3% and 31.2% against the British pound within the same period. As of now, the pound trades at 14 Ghana cedis 2 pesos on the interbank market. Although the cedi dipped slightly by 0.47% over the past 2 weeks, closing at 10 cedis 48 pesos per dollar, it has remained largely stable. On the retail market, the cedi is currently exchanging at around 12 cedis to the dollar. Since the beginning of 2025, the cedi has appreciated by 29.38% against the United States dollar, having started the year at approximately 15 cedis per dollar. The strong performance has been attributed to improved macroeconomic conditions, increased export revenues, and renewed investor confidence. Finance Minister Dr. Ato Forson, during the mid-year budget presentation, emphasized that the cedi's recovery is already contributing to price stability, with some imported goods seeing slight price reductions. He reassured the public of government's commitment to building on these gains and further strengthening the economy.
Away from that, Ghana experienced a significant trade surplus of 5.57 billion United States dollars in the first half of 2025, marking a remarkable 307.4% increase compared to 1.367 billion United States dollars during the same period in 2024. According to the Bank of Ghana, exports reached 18.79 billion United States dollars, contrasted with imports totaling 8.225 billion United States dollars in June 2025.
Gold exports led the way, generating $8.38 billion due to elevated gold prices. Cocoa export also contributed significantly, bringing in $2.167 billion, while crude oil exports were valued at $1.364 billion. Additional exports from non-traditional commodities amounted to $1.87 billion. As of June 2025, gross international reserves were at $11.12 billion, providing about 4.8 months of import coverage, while net international reserves were $8.88 billion. The current account balance was reported at $3.34 billion, with the financial account estimated at $1.596 billion.
Now, away from that, GCB Bank PLC launches its groundbreaking salary advance on the GCB mobile app on the 29th July 2025 at the Clocksack Auditorium in Accra, enabling customers to access up to 80% of their salary ahead of payday. This innovative product underscores the bank's focus on digital transformation and customer-centric services.
Delivering the keynote address, GCB Bank's Chief Finance Officer, Socrates Afam, stated that the product was specifically designed with customers' needs in mind.
This product was designed with the customer in mind. My colleague, Sena Kamagati, did a great job of why this product. We are seeking to bring convenience, simplicity, and speed to the customer when it comes to salary advance. And this is the only instant salary advance in the country. And I'm saying instant because it takes less than a minute to get your account credited if we initiate the process. Actually, my executive head of retail tells me it's 20 seconds that you get your money credited to your account. And because of security concerns, cyber-related issues, we've built the right architecture around this so that you can transact in a safe, secured manner without any headache of somebody hacking into your account, somebody taking the salary advance in your name when you have no clue what is going on. At GCB, we believe that banking should not just be about transactions. It should be about transformation. And today, we take yet another bold step in the journey of building a digitally driven, customer-first solutions that deliver value where it matters most.
Sena Gamati also spoke on the mode of repayment of the facility and explained how different it is from other digital loan offers.
What we are saying is that your salary advance is going to be repaid only with your salary. So other credit you receive in the account remain your credit to use. But when your salary comes through, the system is intelligent enough to read that this is the salary, and then the system would deduct the amount to be repaid. That's not just it, that's an automatic payment.
Delivery.
On the same story, GCB Bank PLC assures customers that those who actually apply from the 29th of July 2025 to 31st of July 2025 are going to do that at zero interest rate. This is all we have for you on business updates on Clock TV, and I am Clement Yabanukwe. Do enjoy the rest of the show.
Fosu, Charles Kojo Fosu, Daddy Lumba, with one of his hits, and Daddy Lumba was known for, most of her songs were Ekutia songs, just when I wanted to collaborate with him and he passed on. We are still mourning and remembering Daddy Lumba here at Clock TV, and this is a beautiful way to welcome you to our lifestyle segment here on the Koko Digest Morning Show here on Clock TV. I am Miriam Abna Adede. Now, 2 weeks ago, we started a conversation that has to do with, how our prolonged exposure to technologies are affecting our eyes or our sight, and we didn't finish. Right after that conversation, we started getting a lot of comments, questions, coming in, and that meant that we needed to have a part 2 of our discussion, and that is why we are having, this conversation today. Today, we are trying to understand how, our exposure to technologies are affecting our sight, and we have our very own Dr. Emmanuel Essien, supervising optometrist at the Del Cielo Optical Services Tema branch, gracing our studio this morning, and he's going to help us in understanding, what it means to, expose yourself to technology and the, warning signs that we can see. And so we are being reminded that this conversation is streaming live on Facebook and also YouTube, so you can get interactive with us by sending in your comments, and also to our WhatsApp number, which will be displayed on your screen right now. Just send us a question, anything that bothers you about, technology, and then how it affects our sight, and then Doctor will answer all that for you. Hello, Doc.
Hello.
It is nice to have you again.
Thank you.
Okay, so we just have to continue from where we stopped, or should we go back? Which one do you prefer?
You'll be going back and forth, so.
But before that, let me ask you, which of Daddy Lumba's songs do you like?
And show. This one is okay. The
That's Ekutia song.
Yeah, I like that one.
You like that one?
It's
okay, fine. Okay. Right. Let's get straight into our conversation today. I've realized that a lot of people are wearing glasses lately. You are wearing one. Yes. Your manager is also wearing one. Our sound guy is also wearing one. Like, why do you think the conversation surrounding how technology affects our health has become very loud these days?
All right, thank you very much for the question. I will use this opportunity to also welcome our viewers, our audience, for giving ears to today's section. It's very important that as we go through life, as we started 2 weeks ago, once you come to realize certain things that can be detrimental to your health, it's always important to put in measures. I've realized that the technological use has become so prominent and then resonating widely. And I believe there are 3 major reasons why this discussion is taking on the space. The first thing is that research indicates that extended screen use and sustained near work is a contributing factor to most of the occupational eye health hazards. So when we mean eye health hazard, they are just situations or factors that have the potential of causing harm to the eye. So in the workspace, screen use, extended screen use, and then near work are very indeterminate for causing so much complications to the eye. So the second thing also has to do with research also indicates that there is a growing prevalence globally of the eye complicated issues and its association with sustained screen use and near work. So globally, there is also a study that shows that there is a greater prevalence of screen use, near work, and then people at large who engage in these devices. Okay. And the last one is that, having said all these, you realize that the widespread adoption of technology in our globe has made it more concerning, especially to public health. Yeah. And the reason is because it involves the majority. Okay. Almost everyone is using it. Exactly. And so, considering the consequences or the consequential effect that comes along with it, that's become a public health issue. And so, we are all trying as much as possible to mitigate some of these adverse effects it may have on the eye.
And it looks like it's not getting,
I don't know how to put it, we are not stopping anytime soon with the introduction of, AI and other, technology, helping us to stay glued to our phones, our desktops, our laptops every single day. But what exactly happens to our eyes when we stare at these devices for a long time?
All right. So as you rightly said, once you're in a global world, digital world, there is no way you will be going back to the other ways. If not, you will not be advancing.
Yeah.
But we just have to put in mind that there are certain things that may be adversarial to our eyes. The first thing we need to know is that most of the times when you use screens, it affects our blinking rate. Normally, if you don't use screens, if you are sitting there just idle or doing your normal things, your blinking rate per minute is supposed to be about 15 to 17 times. We always blink regularly, 15 to 17 times per minute.
Wow.
Per minute. However, when we gaze on screens or use screens for a longer period of time, the blinking rate reduces. It becomes about 5 to 7 times per minute.
Yeah.
So the reduction in the blinking rate affects the eye, really affect the eye. How? The more we blink, there is a production of tears on the eye that helps with comfort and even clarity of vision.
Oh, okay.
So the more we blink, the tears are being spread on the eye. Now, if the blinking rate reduces, it means that there is less reduction or there is reduction in the tear production. And that affects the clarity. It can also cause redness, can cause headaches and all that. Secondly, when we sustain screen use for a longer period of time, there is what we call accommodation. So accommodation, what actually means in simple terms is that when we present a target to the eye, either at near or far, the eye is supposed to meet the demand of the target to see clearly. Okay. So when a target is far, you need to look at far to see. And when it's presented closer, you need to look closely to see.
With that, do you have to do something with your eyes, or is just the normal, you looking at something?
So it's just a normal mechanism of the eye.
Oh,
Once the target is taken afar, normally the eye will just go back to see. Once it comes, it moves in. So mostly at far, it moves back, it opens. When it comes closer, it moves in to see. So most of the times, when the targets are closer, the effort exerted by the eye to see is always higher than when it is far. Okay. So when we sustain screen work for a longer period of time, we put so much stress on that ability, which is called the accommodation. Okay. And that stress sometimes can cause double vision. Sometimes you'll be reading, you see the things looking double.
Yeah.
These are some of sometimes you may have headaches. Then the last thing is that apart from the accommodation, which helps us to see things at close and far, there is also one called the muscles. So the muscles will help us to move the eye inward or outward. So when you are looking things at far, the muscles will help you to move the eye outward to see. When it's closer, it helps you to move the eye inward to see. When there is so much stress also on the muscles, it gets tight. And then that is when we get people having complaints of headache, frontal headache, and all of that.
Okay. So you made mention of the fact that in a minute, we are ideally supposed to blink like
15 to 17 times.
17 times. You were looking at me for 1 minute and you blinked like 3 times.
It's because I am gazing. My focus is concentrated.
Oh, okay.
So that is how it happens to screen work.
Oh, okay.
Normally, if you are not really gazing, focusing for a longer period of time on a target, your blinking rate comes in normal. But then when you are focusing on someone, because your attention is on the person and you don't want to just miss anything, the blinking rate will come down.
And is it a bad thing?
It's a bad thing. That is what causes the red eyes, the watering eyes, the itching.
So when I'm looking at someone and I'm talking to the person, I have to be blinking.
So most of the times, you don't have to. You have to be changing your gaze.
So for some of us with this profession, when you're looking into the camera, you're not supposed to be blinking. But health-wise, you're advising that we blink.
We blink. Yes.
Wow.
Very good. Wow. You have to blink. Then what will also help is that you sometimes have to be changing your gaze from the closeness target to far target. That also facilitates the blinking rate.
Right. Many people also complain of, itchy eyes, dry eyes, tired eyes, and those kind of things. What also contributes to these things?
So when we use the screens for a longer period of time, because of the emittance of rays to the eye, it causes what we call glare. So glare is just reflections of light in your space.
Okay.
So when there is so much light on your eye, as I said earlier, it affects the blinking rate. Then secondly, it makes you very sensitive to the light.
Okay.
So when the blinking rate is affected, it means that there is not so much tears spreading on your eye. So that causes the itching and causes the redness. So sometimes when you stay long on a period for a long period of time on screens, you get the itching, you get the redness and all that. But the watering eyes that comes in is actually called dry eye. So even though we have a condition called dry eye syndrome, which means that there is low production of tears, especially with screen work. One of the signs of dry eye is that you have more teary eyes. So it's just situational irony.
I wanted to say, is that not the opposite?
Yes, so we will explain that how it happens that way. But then one of the conditions that really affects sustained near work and prolonged screen use is that you have dry eyes. You get red eyes, you get blurry vision, you get headaches, you get redness, you get itching. All of that come together.
I see. So is it good to cry?
It's good to cry, but there are two types of tears actually. So
what are the types?
So we have the normal tears, which is actually the one needed for the comfort of the eye and protects the eye. Then we have the reflex tears. The reflex tears is when it responds to triggers.
Oh, okay.
So when something falls on your eye, like that, you'll be tearing. That kind of tearing is not a replacement for the normal one because it doesn't have the actual substance to moisturize the eye.
Okay.
So those are the ones you mostly have when we use the screens for a longer period of time. They're reflex tears.
Okay.
So,
I even wanted to say that sometimes when you stay on your screens for a long time, you realize that there are tears coming out from your eyes. And you're also saying there's a normal tear. So it means it is good that you have that kind of tears. So exposing your eyes to the screens and then the tears come, is it not normal?
Okay. So as I said, there are two different tears. We have the basal normal tears.
Okay.
Those are the ones produced normally by the eye
to
secrete tears on the eye for comfort and for easy clarity.
Okay.
The second one is the one in response to triggers.
Okay.
But that one is not the actual one needed for the comfort of the eye.
Okay.
So mostly when we use screens for a longer period of time, the tear that comes is the reflex tears. It's not the one the eye actually needs. So even though it may come, it doesn't really help with the situation. And it comes because of the trigger to the irritation.
I see.
So it can't be a replacement for the normal one. If you need the normal one, it means that you need to relax. That's why we always encourage the breaks. Once you make the break, the normal flow comes in.
Oh, okay. I see. And so with those who also wear glasses, you realize that sometimes they take the glasses off and then they are cleaning their eyes. You see tears, in their eyes. Is that also a normal tears, something? So
in most cases, with the normal tears, it doesn't really come out.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't come out.
It doesn't flow.
It doesn't flow.
Oh, okay.
It's just normal. It spreads on the eye. The more we blink, it moves.
Oh, okay.
But the reflex tears, in most cases, that comes in response to triggers. So most people will take their glasses and will be rubbing the eye because they have gazed on the screens for a longer period of time.
Oh, okay.
And so when it gets to that threshold, they begin to have the teary eyes. So they have to clean it off. Because if you don't do that, it affects the clarity of your vision.
Your vision, I see. Interesting. Now let's do a comparison between hard copies and then soft copies. So some people have said that when they are reading from a book, a hard copy, it's much easier as compared to reading from your phones or desktop or something, anything digital. In your own understanding, which one do you think is the best when it comes to reading? All right. Okay. So I'll give the difference, then you will choose.
All right. So when it comes to the digital use, screens, and then the normal book, with the digital, it has to emit light.
Okay.
So it emits light. We have the blue rays. We spoke about it last time. Then we have the glare. The glare is when you have so much light causing discomfort to the eye. Okay. So in most times, because you are not able to regulate the amount of light that comes from the eye, from the digital screens, sometimes it becomes very discomfortable. It's not really comfortable. Then when it comes to the normal sheet or books, it mostly uses the ambient light, that is the surrounding light. It utilizes the normal natural light. So when it comes to that light reflection, is safer in that case. Then with screens, there is so much reflections, either from the direct screen or from the surrounding light. So it may be reflecting on your eye, direct or indirect. But with the book or the sheet you are reading, mostly because of the surface not too smooth, it's not able to reflect light as the digital one. The second thing is that with digital screens, it utilizes what we call pixels. So we have pixelation with digital screens. What it means is that the text that are being presented are produced by the pixels. And so in most cases, if the pixels are not really meeting the optimum, sometimes make vision very difficult, especially when you have poor screens or the font sizes are not really bigger enough for you. You have to strain to see.
So with the poor screens, do I increase the brightness? Do I do something to the,
So mostly we have standard settings of the screen, so you need to be setting the standard order. And then the font size should be in such a way that you don't have to strain to see. It should be bigger for easiness in your reading. But when it comes to the books or the whatever you read in terms of the sheet, the letters are mostly, the font size are mostly the same throughout.
Well, for me, someone will call me old school. I think I'll go with the hard copy.
Hard copy.
As compared, because I feel I get to strain my eyes when I'm reading from, a device. And sometimes there are so many distractions as well, messages popping up here and there. But with the book, you are just focused. Now, let me also ask you, let's do another comparison with phones and then tablets, and then our desktops and laptops. These are all devices, but some people say that our exposure to, let's say, phones are less harmful as compared to our laptops. Is it true? Are there differences in how they can harm our eyes?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we are comparing the phones, tablet to
laptops,
desktops. So the first difference also with that is that with the phones and tablet, they all have viewing distances. We spoke about it a couple of times ago. I think with the screens, the laptops and the phones, the last time we said it should be 40 centimeters away. And then the desktop should be about 50 to 70 centimeters away. So they have difference in the viewing distance. Now, I explained earlier that when the closer the target is to your eye, the more exertion your eye needs to put in to see the target. So the closer it is, the more force you need to exert on the eye. So if phones...
So like what we are seeing on our screen.
Very good. This is very close. So it means that the eye has to exert so much force and pressure to see the whatever the person is reading. But the desktop is 50 to 70 centimeters away. So the exertion of the force and pressure is relatively low. Then secondly, it has to do with the size of the screens. Mostly with phones and tablets, the sizes are smaller. This work area, the space, they are smaller than that of the desktops. And so in that case, it affects the font size. The font size with phones are smaller than the desktop. So with phones, you will have to also strain the eye to see the small details. But desktop, they are quite bigger because of the distance.
So in this case, what do we do? Because we are usually on our phones. Do I have to enlarge the font size? Like, what do I do?
Okay, so the last thing I wanted to add is that the frequency at which we use the phones are higher than that of the desktop. Phones are not mostly used in a continuous period. Mostly they are breaks. So the frequency has to do with the number of times we use it. The phone has a higher frequency than desktop. The desktop has a continuous use. So mostly if you want to mitigate the adverse effect, you have to always ensure the breaks break. When you use the screen or the laptop or the phone for some time, you break. So mostly last time we spoke about 20-20 rule. You use the screen for 20 minutes, you break for 20 seconds, then you look at far, that is 20 feet. So you need to ensure the breaks because it may be indispensable to avoid the laptop or the screens or whatever. So
I even wanted to say that in this time and age where people are exposed to working at home, remote works and all those kind of things, are there some lifestyle activities they can start indulging in to help them work and not, also strain their eyes.
Yeah. So now with the remote work and mostly working from home, what it has caused is that it has increased the usage or the time spent on screens.
Okay.
So now all these complaints will come in, the headache, the pain, the discharge, the watering eyes and all that. So if you can't go away with that and you still have to work from home for a longer period of time being on your screens, then you have to ensure the breaks.
Okay.
Get your glasses also on. We spoke about the screen protectors.
Yeah.
Get it also there. Then it's very important, once you do that, observing the breaks, it helps with the eye. Yes, preventing your eye from that adverse effect that you are prone to have.
Yeah, and we cannot leave kids out of this conversation, especially in this time and age where kids are also exposed to screens. They are exposed to, tablets and the rest. How can parents also help their kids, manage their time with these devices?
All right. So there's what I wanted to also add in terms of this question. The sustained screen work has to do with kids. It's very prevalent with kids because of the recreational use, their studies and all that. There is a condition we call short-sightedness. In other words, myopia. Short-sightedness means that there are people who can see better at near, when the target is near, but they struggle to see at far. So those are the short-sighted people. We have the far-sighted people. They find it very easy to see at far, but they struggle to also see at near.
And is that as a result of their exposure to devices, or they were born with that?
Some of them may be born with it, but others are acquired through long-time use of screens and near work, especially with kids. From 0 to about age 8, they are growing. The eyeball is growing. When we use screens for a longer period of time, when the eye gets tired, and then the muscles get fatigued, there's a place where mostly the target is supposed to fall on the eye to help you see very clear. Now, when it happens that the eye gets tired, it falls to a different position. It falls to a different position. I believe we have a video of that, a picture on that.
A video.
A picture.
A picture. Producer, can we have the picture?
The eyeball.
The picture of the eyeball. Okay, please continue. They are working on it.
So when you look at the screens for a longer period of time, once the eye gets tired, now at some point in the eye, target should always fall to help you see the better object you are looking at. When the eye gets tired, it falls at a different place. And that is one of the major triggers to short-sightedness. So parents should know the association we have between short-sightedness and then screen use. Once we have that knowledge and understanding, we would monitor the usage of screens by our kids. It's very important. Then secondly,
so I think we have
very good. So the first image we have there is supposed to be where images of objects are supposed to fall within the eye. This is about the eye, the internal part of the eye. So mostly they are supposed to fall at the first diagram, at that first point. But at some point in time, when the eye gets tired, the myopia sets in. So you see how the image now is falling. That is the image focused in front of the retina. So it's now in front. So these are the short-sighted people. So now it naturally, even though they were normal people without this complaint, with the prolonged use of the screens, now it becomes a part of them, where now they struggle with looking at far. So this actually goes with screen use, not only with kids, but also with even the youth. And it's one of the major eye conditions we are facing globally. Major challenge.
Wow.
Yes.
So, Doc, if this is a challenge to a lot of people, why don't we, consider digital detoxing? Like, staying away from these devices. I know you will not advise that, but don't you think it's a way of, helping us?
Okay. As you said, will not be possible because that is part of our lives. But I believe that once we have the understanding, we have the policies and the awareness created in the global space, it will help in the prevention of some of these things. The problem is that majority of us don't know some of these. And so once you don't know, you may not have the solution.
Okay.
So I believe that we can still use the screens to serve the purposes that we are having in our lives. But we have to be aware of the consequences and put in the right measures to mitigate them.
Okay. We have a question here, and it says, my name is Michael from Dansoman. There are lots of bars around blue lights, glasses, and screen filters. Do these really help, or are they just a trend?
A lot of.
There are lots of bars around blue light, glasses, and screen filters. Do these really help, or they are just a trend?
Okay.
So you see people wearing
yes.
blue lenses.
Now I've seen many people with that. Majority of them don't have any effect.
Oh, okay.
Majority, especially the ones you buy in the market. They will just write the blue light there, or the blue light protecting whatever, but it doesn't have any effect.
Okay.
I will recommend that if you want any protective screens or blue light, whatever, that to protect and prevent your eye from the exposure, you should go to the eye clinic because it is actually something recommended to patients.
Okay.
We actually prescribe them to patients, but they are different from the one we have in the market. So sometimes you may see someone with glasses and it looks very blue, but it may have no
the ones
effect.
we have on our screens.
So these are tinted lenses, tinted ones. They come in various colors.
Are they different from sunglasses, the normal sunglasses?
So you have the normal sunglasses also in there.
Oh,
so
okay.
with this one, it comes in different color. You can just use it also for the light, the sunlight and all that.
Okay.
But when it comes to the blue light, prevention from the blue light, you have to use the blue glasses with the screens filter on.
I see. So, how would you advise, someone who isn't sure of what particular lens they should go for? Maybe I have itchy eyes. That's just it, and I want to start wearing, lenses. Yeah. What advice would you give to the person or recommendation? Okay.
So I realize that most people, once they come to the clinic, you tell them you need glasses. They tell you, people laugh at me, or it's not really important, my eye is fine.
Yeah.
But there are three major reasons why we use glasses.
Okay.
The first one is for protection.
Okay.
So most people don't have vision problems, but they will just use glasses to protect their eyes from the environment, blue light and other exposures.
Okay.
There's also another one for correction. There are people, they have vision problems.
Oh, okay.
So for such people, we need to give them the glasses for correction. Then cosmetics purpose, for dressing, makeup and all that. So if you come and you have issues, depending on your complaint, your symptoms presented, we would have to now know which of them should be given. And majority of them always have the protection. The protection always comes with the correction. So once you have the corrective glasses, we add the filters to it for protection.
Wow. Let's take a last one and then we'll conclude. Doc, what are some of the red flags or early signs that your screen habits might be harming your eyes? Sorry. Like some red flags we can see to tell that our eyes are getting there. We are harming our eyes.
All right. So one of them, the major thing is that, as I explained with all these, when you use the screens for a longer period of time, the blinking rate. So when you begin to have teary eyes, itchy eyes or irritating eyes, redness, it comes in very good. So dryness and all that, it comes in. Now, we also spoke about the digital strain a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
You get headaches and all that. Double vision also comes in. At some point, you'll be reading and you realize that you are seeing the words in two folds.
Is that not spiritual?
It's not spiritual. You'll be seeing them in two folds. It means that your eye is tired. It's just communicating that it's tired. Have some rest.
Oh, okay.
Then the headache. Sometimes majority of them related to the eye is frontal. You get a frontal headache. Once you have some of these indicators, it should tell you that you have to put in measures.
Wow. Dr. Last words.
Okay, so I have to bring this across so that we can all pay close attention. There was a study which was conducted in 2021.
Okay.
It shows that, from the study, it shows that was in 2021, but it made a prediction of the short-sightedness, that in that time, in 2010, there were about 27% of the global population having that condition. Now, it's making a forecast, and by extrapolation, the study is saying that in 2050, about more than 50% of the global population will be having issues with short-sightedness.
Wow.
And that is because of screen use. Okay. When we say more than 50%, that is about 52%. It means about 4.9 billion people will now be having issues with short-sighted, meaning that you can only see things at near, you will struggle to see things at far. And the reason is because we are using the screens without the proper measures. Okay. So now, myopia or short-sightedness in time will become a global pandemic, like COVID. Okay. Very serious. And the research also says that about 10%, which is about 945 million people, will have severe cases of myopia, which means you can go blind. Glaucoma is related to it. It can cause irreversible blindness. And this is what we are struggling with. And so we are putting in all these measures to mitigate that effect. And so I would recommend, once you are using screens, we are not saying stop it. You can't go away with that. But if you are a sustained screen user or you spend much time on screens, please put in the measures required so that you can save your eyes and your sight from all this. Because once it's affected, it affects your productivity, it affects your quality of life. You will now be dropped from work because you can't see again. So let's prioritize our eye health.
Thank you so much. Dr. Emmanuel Essien is my guest, or was my guest for today's lifestyle segment, and he is supervising optometrist at Del Cielo Optical Services, the Tema branch. And we discussed the topic, is tech stealing your sight? Rethinking our tech habits. I hope you have been informed and educated as well. I am Miriam Abna Adede. Let's do some birthdays and then we'll get straight into our main discussion.
I heard today was your birthday. I heard today was your birthday.
Right, so who is our first birthday celebrant for today? Oh, okay, so every year with you is a blessing filled with love and joy. Happy birthday, my wonderful son, Nyametiase Osahene Opoku, and this is from your parents. You have grown to be a wonderful and great man. Today, as you celebrate your birthday, the HB Group wish you all the best in life and ask for God's blessings. Wishing you a resplendent birthday, Julian Lalasulala, unpredictable Chemano, Sokopio. Hey, that was a mouthful. This is from the HB Group to you. And we also have this from John, your son. He's saying, thank you for always being my rock, my guide, and my biggest supporter. Your strength, kindness, and wisdom means the world to me. I'm so lucky to call you Dad. Wishing you a year ahead filled with love, laughter, love you more than words can say. Happy birthday to you, Daddy. All right, a happy belated birthday going out to Kate of Atenka TV. Kate, a happy birthday. You know how I feel about you. Thank you so much for the support and all that you do for me. A happy belated birthday. God richly bless you. This is all we have for you on today's lifestyle segment. And I am Miriam Abnadi. I didn't say thank you to Doc. Doc, thank you very much. And so Yaira Awuno and her guests are, standing by to take us into a discussion that is, trending. It has to do with our roads and, accidents lately, everything that you need to know about that. And so stay with us. We have more coming your way.
Back to the Koko Just Morning Show, and if you're just tuning in, we're about to have our main discussion, and I'd like to remind us to send in our questions, our comments to our WhatsApp number displayed onto the screens and onto our YouTube or Facebook live stream if we are not behind the screen at home. Yes, so today's conversation on the main discussion is about the increase in road fatalities in Ghana, and we're going to be examining the contributing factors. Now, when we talk about fatalities, we're talking about deaths. Am I right? My guess, yes, deaths.
That's right.
Yes, we're talking about deaths, and we're going to be doing this with an official from the National Road Safety Authority, and he is in the person of Mr. Felix Owusu. He's the planning manager at the National Road Safety Authority, Greater Accra Region. Now, before we get into the conversation, let's take a small, So road safety in Ghana faces significant challenges, particularly highlighted by a 21.6% increase in road deaths reported in the first half of 2025 compared to the same period in 2024. The National Road Safety Authority has confirmed that 1,504 lives were lost in traffic accidents during this period, underscoring a critical need for urgent action. The alarming surge in fatalities has prompted stakeholders, including the NRSA and various advocacy groups, to call for a national emergency declaration to address the escalating crisis. Now, in response to these trends, the government is being urged to implement more comprehensive interventions, including stricter enforcement of traffic regulations and increased funding for road safety initiatives. There are discussions about launching a nationwide campaign focused on driver education, emphasizing the importance of adhering to traffic laws and the dangers of speeding and reckless driving. Additionally, community engagement programs are being expanded to raise awareness about pedestrian safety and encourage safer practices among road users. As the situation continues to evolve, the emphasis remains on collaboration between government agencies, civil society groups, and the public to turn the tide on road safety in Ghana. Now, let's get acquainted with our guest, Mr. Felix Owusu, Planning Manager at the National Road Safety Authority. Good morning.
Good morning, Ira.
Yes, it's been a while since you joined us on set. We are glad to have you back.
Yeah, same here. Anyway, so good morning to you, Ira. And in fact, your able producers and then everybody here in the studio. And also our cherished viewers out there. And also a very good morning to my Director General, Mr. Abraham Amaleba Esquire, and then all my colleagues at the National Road Safety Authority.
Thank you so much. So quickly, I mean, you've been here a number of times, but quickly in maybe 2 seconds, if you can tell us what the National Road Safety Authority is about, then we go straight into the fatalities conversation.
Well, so the National Road Safety Authority, as you asked, we are a government agency, and simply we are there to make sure road traffic crashes, or what we refer to as accidents, are reduced in the country, and those who the injuries and fatalities or deaths are also reduced in the country. So basically, yes, I agree. Under the Ministry of Transport. Yeah, one of the agencies under the Ministry of Transport. And like I said, our core objective is to ensure road traffic crashes or accidents, injuries, and fatalities or deaths are reduced in the country. But like I said, when it comes to road safety management in the country, yes, even though we are the lead agency, there are other stakeholders who also play critical roles in ensuring road safety in the country.
Okay, so you work together with these agencies, no?
Yes.
Right. Okay, so the very first question here would now be about statistics. And so what are some of the factors that you believe are driving the 21.6% increase in road deaths here in 2025, the first half?
Yeah, so as you asked about the statistics, in fact, I would want us to go into the statistics. Then we look at the contributory factors driving these increases. So first of all, what we need to know is, in fact, and this
all of us are shocked by the recent crashes that we are seeing on our roads. And so when you see, or when you compare the national figures, in fact, the first half of the year to that of the previous year, that is 2024, nationally we are seeing increases in all our indicators. When I mention indicators, so those are the factors we look out for. So we can talk about reported cases, we can talk about number of persons injured. Okay, so so now these are the various categories of vehicles. So if I can have the other one, which talks about the injuries.
Okay, I think we have it.
Okay, so this is it. So what we have on our screen here, we have the first half of the year. That is January to June 2024, 2025 compared. So as I mentioned earlier, when you look at all these variables being looked at as reported cases, persons injured, total number of persons killed, vehicles involved, pedestrian knockdowns and killed. In fact, all these 6 variables we are looking at throughout the country saw increases as compared to the same period in 2024. And so total number of persons, as we asked earlier, increased by 21.58%. Okay, and then the rest also follow. So, and that is how the national outlook looks like. But when we also come to Greater Accra, normally, yes, because I'm in Greater Accra, normally I also want to talk about Greater Accra. So yes, this is for the Greater Accra region. We are saying that even though the national outlook, everything increased, but when it comes to Greater Accra, from what we have on our screen, you can see that reported cases rather. So apart from reported cases and vehicles involved, all the other variables decreased and in Greater Accra. But the national outlook, everything increased. But when it comes to Greater Accra, at least we saw some decreases in 4 of the variables that we are. That is injuries and persons killed, pedestrian knockdowns, and even pedestrians killed in the Greater Accra region. But when we put everything together nationally, we are saying that everything increased, and that's where they were. So even though it looks as if Greater Accra, we are doing well, but we are also concerned because now, yesterday, in fact, I had a meeting with my colleagues in the office, and we're looking at our statistics. Yes, so even though, like you say, we are doing well, but then again, the majority of the vehicles in the country, especially with the commercial vehicles, they move from Accra, end up in other regions, and so normally, I was telling them, let's not be too excited about even our figures. Once we are seeing the hours are even decreasing, but let's be mindful that most of these commercial vehicles leave the terminals in Accra here, and they go and crash in other regions. So now, what we do, or how our statistics are recorded. So if a vehicle leaves Accra, right, and it goes to crash somewhere in the eastern region, it is added to eastern region fee. So it is not so. Yes. So even though, like I said, we are doing well as a region, but the contribution that the vehicles that's leaving Accra, adding to the other, we should also be mindful of that and not be too conversant with whatever we are seeing now. Okay. And we believe that when we do all these things, even if once Greater Accra is reducing, we are also helping to reduce other regions. Then nationwide, it is also going to increase, reduce the number of cases we report nationwide. So
are there any particular demographics or locations or even maybe contributing factors like maybe the types of cars that are, contributing mainly to the fatalities? Yeah, so when you look at, in fact, when you look at the other information, we have the contribution from the various categories of vehicles. And then at the National Road Safety Authority, we classify, within the road safety space, we classify all the vehicles under 3 main categories. So we have the commercial vehicles, we have the private vehicles, and we have the motorcycles. So if you can also have that statistics on the screen. The statistics, yeah, so we can see the contributions from the various categories of vehicles. Now, on top of my head, I know that over the years, when it comes to fatalities, motorcycles have always been leading in terms of years. So when you look at the statistics on our screen, we have commercial vehicles, private vehicles, and motorcycles. And now also we have the crashes, injuries, and deaths. That's what we refer to as CIDs.
crashes, injuries, and deaths. So you can see the contributions from commercial vehicles in terms of crashes to the national statistics. So we are saying that commercial vehicles contributed to 3,865 crashes in 2024, but in 2025, they contributed to 4,182, and that also saw an increase of 8.220%. Okay. Now, in terms of injuries, we saw that in 2024, commercial vehicles contributed to 3,510, but in 2025, it increased to 3,814. And in terms of fatalities, from 445 to 500, and so you can also see the increases in all the variables there. Now, when it comes to private vehicles, okay, private vehicles contributed to 5,029 in the year 2025. That's first half of the year. And then injuries reduced from 1,914 to 1,700. So, in fact, when you look at the screen, that is the only variable that's decreased. Injuries associated with private vehicles. Now, let's look at motorcycles. In 2025, first half of the year, in terms of crashes, they contributed to 3,143. And in terms of injuries, 2,761. But when it comes to fatalities, now you compare all the three, you see that motorcycles, looking at the number of even people or occupants that it takes, maximum 2. But look at the number of fatalities or deaths that it is contributing to the national figure. So motorcycles alone is contributing to 691 as compared to private vehicles giving us 307 and commercial vehicles 506. In fact, when it comes to even the regional Greater Accra, it's the contribution of motorcycles is even higher as compared to I know they contribute to about 56% of the fatalities in Greater Accra. Motorcycles contribute to 56, even more than 56% of the fatalities in Greater. So that is how serious the situation. So these are the contributions of the various categories of vehicles to the statistics. So on top of from here, we can see where and who is contributing more to whether the crashes, injuries, and fatalities.
Okay, so you've educated us extensively on the contributors, right? But what about the victims? Who are most affected? Is it passengers, pedestrians, or even the motorists themselves?
Yeah, so now when you also query the statistics, you realize that most of these people who are dying on our roads, apart from the motor riders, are also pedestrians. Okay. Yeah, so pedestrians and the motor riders, especially in Greater Accra. But so when you when you check on the corridors or nationwide, in fact, it's still you look at, because when you check, there is a motorcycle, the deaths that are I'm saying that is the highest when you compare that's coming from the commercial vehicles. And that's
considering the fact that the motorcycles, maybe maximum 3 people on the bike, and maybe in a crash, you may have one pedestrian probably crossing the road, then one car that was trying to avoid the veering off. In that situation, then, do we also see that the pedestrian and then the other car were also victims of probably maybe, let's say the fault was coming from the motorcycle, would they now also be victims? Or the more affected? I
don't know if you can reframe
the question. You mentioned that as much as the motorcycles have just maybe 2 to 3 passengers they contribute to the highest number of deaths and stuff. So I'm asking that, considering we are trying to find out the most affected by these crashes, let's say in a situation where the motorcycle moved where it was not supposed to move, somebody was crossing the road, now an oncoming car was also trying to avoid the clash. In this situation, does the oncoming car and the pedestrian who was trying to cross become the victim of this whole crash thing, or everybody who's involved is a victim? That's what I'm trying to find out.
Yeah, so then everybody involved is a victim. Okay, yeah.
So we can't really determine that maybe pedestrians are most affected or passengers are most affected,
No, that's
or
okay.
even
So,
the motorists themselves?
in fact, ideally, and looking at even the makeup of the vehicle, normally when the crashes occur, unless there's a serious impact where passengers or occupants of the vehicle die, but most of the time, that's why I say pedestrians and motor riders are the most vulnerable.
Okay.
Yeah, because as for pedestrians, you don't have any protective covering.
Yeah.
So that's why when there's an impact in a vehicle and a human being, definitely you, the human being, will suffer more because if I knock you with the vehicle, probably nothing will happen to me. But then, of course, you are most vulnerable. The same applies to the motorcycle. When there's a crash between a motorcycle and a vehicle, I mean, the rider suffers more. And in a part of the world where most of them don't even wear the approved protective covering, that is why they are most vulnerable. So motor riders and pedestrians are always the most vulnerable road users on our roads.
Right. Okay, so we have some questions here. This one is asking, what role does speeding play in road fatalities in Ghana? So I think it should have been overspeeding, or should we use
Yeah, so when we say speeding, definitely
overspeeding cars, okay.
We are referring to excessively speeding. Okay, excessively speeding. Now, you see every road in Ghana here, every road and then the prescribed speed limit or the legal speed limits here we are supposed to be doing on every section of road. And you asked about the effect of speeding on
what the
role it plays. Yes, it has a very great, to a greater extent, it's in, how do you call it? The effect of a crash, or whenever there's a crash, the magnitude of the impact is determined by the speeding of the vehicle, the speed of the vehicle. Okay, the speed of the vehicle counts a lot because almost all the fatal crashes, when there's a crash, and depending on the number of people who die or even the number of injuries or even the extent of damage is connected to the speeding of the vehicle. Once you are speeding beyond the posted speed limits, or you are speeding, normally it gives you less reaction time. And once there's an impact, it also becomes serious. That's why you have people dying or sustaining serious degrees of injuries when there's an impact. That is why speeding is one of the main things we always talk about. To always reduce our speeds. Because when you have reduced your speed, even though there may be an impact or a crash, once your speed is not that high, the impacts wouldn't be that devastating for it to result in fatalities.
Right. Okay. So in your data collection and all, has there been a trend where maybe there's a particular road or a location that has disproportionately seen a larger number of fatalities when it comes to the road accidents or road crashes?
Yeah, so in fact, definitely when you check, normally it happens on our highways.
Okay.
When I mean the roads are very flat, good roads, and those
good roads.
Yes, very good roads, and the statistics. And in fact, ironically, that's where most of these fatal crashes occur. Because the roads are very good, flat, with no potholes. Drivers are tempted to speed. Yeah, because the road even encourages speeding. And so so most of the time, most of these fatal crashes occur on very good roads. Okay, so then once the road, like I said, when the road is flat, there's no pothole, nothing impedes you from speeding. Then they speed, and normally, so because of the speeding nature of the road, I mean, like I said, it encourages speeding. Typically, when we look at from Koko to Ablekuma, that stretch, Awoshi stretch of road, I mean, those who are very conversant with those roads. Now you see that, well, the road is relatively new, and so it's very good, flat. And when you see, typically you are supposed to be doing 50 kilometers per hour on that stretch, but once you get there, the nature of the road even motivates you to speed. And that is why it's also an engineering issue. Okay, so once in Ghana, we also construct the roads and do not put in some engineering measures to make sure it compels people to reduce their speed. So always give them or motivate them to speed once they see that the road is flat and very smooth.
Making an inference on what you're saying, does that mean that the good roads may pose a threat?
Yeah, to some extent, because once, like I said.
So do we need 1 or 2 potholes just to keep people in check?
No, well, I'm not saying we should put potholes, but engineering-wise, we can use engineering means to design the road in such a way that sometimes we introduce speed calming measures, okay, to make sure you intentionally break the speed or reduce. It will force drivers to or motorists to reduce their speed. Okay. So sometimes, like I said, using engineering, even using technology, sometimes they can intentionally even narrow sections of the road. Okay. And once you know the road is narrow, when you're approaching, you'll be forced to reduce your speed. Or they will introduce the speed calming measures like the Rambo strips. Okay. Those are not speed humps. Yes. Those Rambo strips. Those things are, yes. So we introduce those things just to make sure it forces you to reduce your speed. Right. But if you don't have any of these things and the road is, as usual, as flat as you have them, you may even have the speed limits there, but people still do not obey or adhere to the speed, and they still want to speed.
Considering highways, I think earlier my colleague mentioned that you can't put speed bumps on highways. So on a highway, if you want to probably check over speeding, what are some of the measures that you would advise be put in place?
See, now, in fact, the general advice is that as road users, we should all be concerned about our own safety. Okay, let's all not be looking out for other like enforcement agencies or the law enforcement to be there before you do the right thing. First of all, because when you're on the road, like we always say, your own safety should be paramount to you even before. And some of these policies, guidelines, and are put there in order to help save, they are there to help save us from getting or being involved in a crash. And so, like, if there's no even a law enforcement agency or nothing there, let's also be mindful of the fact that if you don't yourself take your own safety into your own hands, you end up doing. But in elsewhere, they still have speed cameras on sections of road. So when you go beyond the posted speed limits, all these things, the technology are there to arrest and then prosecute or fine people. And so elsewhere, people know that even a police officer may not be there, physically, but there are technologies, there are cameras there to be monitoring your speed. And so these are some of the things we can introduce on our roads to make sure at least it's also watching us. And once people know that some of these things are there, it will deter them from breaking the speeds and always stay within the posted speed limit. So that's why we are happy, in fact, about the introduction of this Traffic Tech GH project, where the police, in collaboration with the other stakeholders, National Road Safety Authority, DVLA, and the others, are trying to work to bring the police enforcement regime by now introducing cameras on sections of the road to be monitoring some of these things, infractions, speeding, jumping of red lights, and other offenses. Okay.
So to what extent does human error, vehicle conditions, even road infrastructure account for the increase in these fatalities?
Yeah, so as I have even mentioned earlier, when we are looking at the causes of road traffic crashes, not only in Ghana, everywhere on the globe, there are three main factors. Okay. So the first one, we can talk about the human errors factor. Then the second one has to do with the mechanical errors. Okay. And then the third, bad roads or weather conditions. So these are the
you mentioned that good roads.
Yes, bad roads and weather conditions can also contribute. Yes. Now the first one, which is the human errors, we are saying that accounts for between 99, even 94 to 96% of all the crashes we have. Okay. And so now, in fact, so if I'm even talking about the human errors, normally I add the institutions who are within the road safety space. Okay. The National Road Safety Authority, DVLA, the police, the road agencies, even the media, we are also part. Before the other road users, all of us who use the road. Okay, so we all play a role when you talk about the human errors.
Okay.
Now, so typically with the National Road Safety Authority, like I always say, our work is to make sure we help reduce the incidence of road traffic crashes, injuries, and fatalities throughout the country. And we do this through a number of interventions. So we have the education, we have enforcement, okay, we have some engineering measures we put in place, and emergency response. Okay. So if the National Road Safety Authority, we are not doing our work, well, then we are also contributing to some of these crashes. Typically with enforcement, now the National Road Safety Authority is supposed to promote road safety, develop and implement standards with regards to road safety. So if there are any road safety rules, standards, we are supposed to implement and enforce those standards. So typically, let me cite this as an example. Now, we are saying that because of even the surge in crashes, there are some standards or road safety standards rules that, let's say, transport operators are supposed to obey. Yes. And one of them is that those who travel in excess of 500 kilometers or 8 hours of drive, the high occupancy vehicles are supposed to use 2 drivers per journey.
Okay.
And so National Road Safety Authority is supposed to enforce some of these standards. So if for any reason we are also not enforcing these standards, and then these operators are traveling or using, traveling these long distances with just one bus, and we are saying that when you are driving and fatigue sets in, when you are driving tired, it can lead to a crash.
Yeah.
Because once fatigue sets in, you may sleep. And once you doze off on the road whilst you are moving, just if you close your eye for just some few seconds, you can end up in a ditch and out. And so if we are not enforcing some of these standards, then the National Road Safety Authority is also part of the human errors that we are talking about. The same applies to DVLA. And as I mentioned, DVLA, they are also mandated to make sure they train drivers, and then they are giving, those who qualify are given the license to come on the road, and also check our vehicles to see how worthiness they are, road worthiness. So it means that any vehicle that comes from the EVLA bearing that sticker, it is believed that the vehicle is roadworthy. So if for any reason we have unqualified drivers, some vehicles are also on the roads not being so. That's what I'm saying. We, the institutions, we are all part of the.
So I want to ask a question that takes us on a slight tangent. Then we go to the images so you can speak to them and educate us properly. So I heard that people tend to import salvaged cars into the country. Now, most of these cars, after being salvaged, they are no more up to the standard of when they were newly manufactured. So 1 or 2 crashes and the impact makes the whole thing fatal, where the car is even just crumpled up. Do you think that option of being able to import salvage cars to use is also a contributing factor?
Well, then it still depends on the makeup of the vehicle and how the extent of damage.
Okay.
Yeah, because let me just be honest with you. Some of these salvage cars we have, some of them, it depends. Like I said, it depends on the type of crash where it got damaged, and some of them are just minor, just some body parts that you just change. But if it's not something that disturbs the major component of the vehicle, I don't think it has any effects on. But I also know there are some of the cars that are imported into the country, and then there's a whole change. You know, they have the right-hand drive and the left-hand drive, and they change from here. And so you should begin to look at how some of these things are done, whether they conform to standard. And even those doing them, do they have the right requisite skills and qualifications to be able to do some of this? And when they are done, who test to see that, yes, the vehicles are actually, they did it well to conform to standards. Yeah, so those are some of the things. And in fact, when it comes to, like I said, so when you're looking at the causes of the road traffic crashes, when we come to the vehicle or the mechanical failure aspect, then we can talk about everything concerning the vehicles. But I think we are initially talking about the human errors. Yeah. So if you can exhaust the human errors.
The question was about human error, then the vehicles themselves. And so yes, human error, vehicle condition, and then road infrastructure. That's why I asked about the condition of some of these cars. And then you even took one question away from me in that I was going to ask that, is there a body that tends to inspect these cars when they come in to make sure that these cars are viable to be used in the country without, meeting the safety protocols and things like that?
All right, so you see, once the vehicles are imported into the country, that's why they have to go through DVLA for them to be licensed. So at that point of registration, DVLA, they do the inspections and tell whether the car conforms with that.
But shouldn't there be a body somewhere at the port so that by the time it gets to DVLA and DVLA, renders the car non-viable, something could have been done there, because I think isn't it tedious or isn't it a long process? Because now if it gets to DVLA and the person says, well, I've wasted all my money to buy it and you are telling me this, isn't the person likely to go and seek some, the connections and get their license?
Well, I think I'm not too sure about, but I think that Ghana Standards Authority, there should be some standards. Yeah, there are standards. Not like I think there are standards with regards to even the kind of vehicles that you import, not all the vehicles, and even motorcycles. So even in fact with the recent legalization of the motorcycles, I'm sure there's something came up like they should also have standards with regards to the kind of specification you have for motorcycles to be used for this commercial. So I know there are standards. So there are standards.
So with that being said, let's go to the road infrastructure now. You were talking about the roadworthiness of the cars, and we get a lot of motorists complaining that is the road car worthy even. So how do we manage or balance you mentioned already even that some of the good roads are where the crashes tend to happen, but we also have a number of bad roads. How do they contribute to some of these fatalities?
Yeah, so with a bad road and weather conditions, so we are talking about roads now. So definitely if there's a pothole on a road, and normally once you are driving and sometimes you see a pothole, drivers or motorists are quick to sometimes even swerve or even dodge the pothole, and that's where sometimes it leads them to the crashes. So sometimes is either you are not able to control yourself because of speeding anyway, because once you are speeding and you want to swerve, you see it suddenly and you want to swerve. Sometimes if you are not careful, you may not be able to control yourself and you may end up in the bush. And sometimes what they do is, because it's kind of a reflex action, you see it and you just want to swerve. These people do not check if the other side there's even another vehicle coming out, and before you realize, they also crash sideways or side swipe with another. So these are some of the ways, like potholes for instance. And sometimes you can hit a pothole and either you have a tire burst, and that also can lead you into, or sometimes with continuous hitting of a pothole, I mean, the vehicle is made up of parts with bolts and nuts, and once you keep hitting, some of these parts may be losing, and it gets to a point where maybe something gives up, and So those are some of the ways through which the bad roads. So it can even be. So when you're talking about bad roads, sometimes we have even unapproved speed humps or speed ramps, unapproved. Once it is unapproved, it means it has been erected there without the appropriate road furniture.
Because there was a lot of speeding.
So then you see, then the human errors. So all these things are even part of it. So I always even say, even though we are talking about mechanical failures and the bad roads, and even all this with the other two, human beings have some stake in all these things, because if there's a pothole on the road, probably even who caused the pothole. Sometimes it can be.
It's the weather.
Yes, it can be natural. Sometimes we ourselves. Sometimes you'll be driving and somebody somehow creates a hole in the road. Sometimes we even cut through roads to be able to lay pipes and all those things. And when they are done, they leave it. They just leave it unattended to. Sometimes, there's cement. How do you call them? The premix, whatever. Concrete. They drive through town and then just be discharging some of the concrete on the road. And when it hardens, it becomes part of the road, and that place becomes uneven. Typical example is Opunglo area there. From Standards Authority, that traffic light, when you get there, that section of road is some way. So people get there and we are all trying to either swerve or use the other. And those are the things that can lead to And even driving on such roads is also is not also comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have comments, or no questions, sorry. So the first one is a comment. It says, "Good morning, Koko Digest. Kudos to the National Road Safety Authority. Interesting discussion from Clock TV, watching live from Kumasi." You forgot to add your name. And this one here says, "Good morning, everyone. Interesting discussion." Now, what do the NRSA think is most, okay, what does the NRSA think is the most critical factor contributing to road accidents in Ghana, and how can it be effectively addressed? Because when you go to various hospital emergency wards, most of them are caused by car accidents. This is Ewuku in Dansoman.
Yeah, so if I'm supposed to respond to Mr. Ewuku, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like we always say, in fact, first of all, it has to do with the human errors, and then the speeding is number one, and indiscipline.
Yeah.
Speeding. So even indiscipline is still part of speeding is part of indiscipline anyway, because you have now even on our major highways, even though we are all calling for or advocating for dualization of the roads, okay, because that is also a cost. Okay, looking at the Kumasi Accra Highway, where every day in day out we are recording series of crashes involving sometimes. I think just about 3 days ago we heard of a crash that took about 17 lives in one single crash, and this is not new on that particular stretch of road. So, like we are saying, even though we are calling for the government to also dualize some of these major roads in order to reduce the number of crashes. Okay, but once that has not been done yet, that's why we also keep cautioning motorists that this is what we have currently. And so when you get there, reduce your speed, be within this process, and do not do wrongful overtaking. So we talk about indiscipline. So that human effect, once we are able to work on that, it's going to reduce drastically the number of crashes we see on our roads. So this indiscipline on the part of road users. And when I talk about it's not only drivers. So it can be from drivers, motor riders, pedestrians ourselves, and sometimes even passengers.
Yes.
Yes. So all of us, we have to be disciplined on our roads.
Right. Okay. It's time for a quick break. When we come back, we will continue the conversation here. Yes, there were some images that were displayed, and I would like you to speak to them. So when we come back from the break, you tell us about, I think I saw something about the tires and the quality and even expiry dates. So maybe you get to educate us on that, and we will be right back. The images. Now, this one says, good morning, great topic. Please, what specific steps can the National Road Safety Authority take to collaborate with the Ghana Highway Authority to improve road infrastructure and reduce accidents on Ghana's most accident-prone roads? There must be more educative awareness in Ghana. Thank you. This is Ernest Afari from Tamale.
All right, so thank you, Ernest. Ernest, right? Yeah, so now even before I even go to, or let me even answer Ernest first. Now, the National Road Safety Authority and like I mentioned, the road agencies, they are one of our major stakeholders, as I mentioned. Apart from the DVLA, the police, the road agencies also play because they are also mandated or they are charged with the responsibility of designing the road construction and maintenance. Okay, so it's the road agencies. So highways is one of them. So what we do is typically, in fact, per the National Road Safety Authority new regulations, says that now for every new road project, they are supposed to even submit their drawings to the National Road Safety Authority for its approval. And during the construction phase, jointly, we will also monitor progress of the project. And if there are any defects, we are able to identify so that it is even rectified before the road is they finish the road. And the National Road Safety Authority we issue like a road safety certificate before the road can be commissioned. So that is how the new regime, that is how it's going to be like.
Okay.
But even currently, what we do is the National Road Safety Authority, I mentioned as part of our measures or what we do to ensure safety to reduce the CIDs. We have inspectors who go on the road for road inspections. And if there are any defects on the road, then we report to those responsible to go and solve the problem. That is, if it's, that section of the road falls within the jurisdiction of the highways, then we go to highways. If it's within urban roads, we go to urban. If it's the feeder roads, we go to feeder. So that is how the collaboration is, aside the other times where we all meet with regards to policy issues. Now, there's one thing I need to clarify. I mean, in our earlier discussions, when I mentioned that in Ghana, per our research, that most of these fatal crashes occur on very good and flat roads. I just want to reiterate that point. I'm not saying that we are not supposed to construct very good roads, but I'm saying that per observations and then our research, we have come to realize that most of these fatal crashes occur on roads that are very good without potholes. Yeah. Because on that stretch of roads, drivers speed.
They're enjoying the ride.
They speed a lot, and once there is speed and then there's a collision, then the impact is so great. That is why I said that. So most of these fatal crashes occur on because if you know the road is not good, the road is curvy, you don't speed. Okay? Or if you know there are potholes, there's no way you would speed. But once you see that the road is flat, there's no curve, no bend. Sometimes you sleep and even becomes boring. So once you are driving and you are not even changing, it becomes boring. And if you are not careful, then that also even leads to those. You can easily sleep. Okay, and then if you are not careful, you are thrown out, or you go and you either leave your lane, enter into the opposing lane, and then crash into another vehicle. So that is why that is what I meant by very good roads and flat roads leads to most of these crashes.
Okay, so in that case, does that mean that when the roads are being constructed, they should be constructed in a way that just a slight rise and like hilly areas, there's maybe something small, not necessarily a speed ramp, but just something that makes the road, or do you think that will also cause a different problem?
So like I mentioned, so that's why if you don't have such features, that you can use the other engineering measures to make sure you don't make the road too flat for a long stretch. You can at a point just introduce something, just make sure. Because if you drive
like
for
a slope,
you can
small
either,
slope.
like I mentioned, either intentionally make it a bit maybe narrow, so that you know when you get there you are supposed to. And there, at any point, you also have road signs cautioning you that there is this ahead, there is something. So if you know the road is narrow, it tells you that you should have to brake or reduce your speed. I mentioned earlier the speed harms, and sometimes you have some engineering measures that we introduce on the road to make sure it helps us to reduce.
So I noticed that sometimes people, you find, I don't know the name, is this really thick? It looks like a very thick rope. It looks thicker than the tug of war.
Is the anchor rope.
Okay. You find one on the road. Is that something that is necessary? Is it safe also?
It is not.
But does it also tend to check the problem it seems to be put there to solve?
So temporarily, sometimes. So what that rope does is, then again, before you see anything of that sort, it means it's probably the local or the residents who have introduced that as the speed calming measure.
Okay.
Okay, it's because maybe probably they've realized motorist speed, and sometimes they have a lot of pedestrian knockdowns, killing some pedestrians. And so you see sometimes they cry to the authorities, we need speed harms, and if it's not coming, they themselves will introduce that anchor rope. What it does is, because it is not properly engineered, now there are no road signs to warn motorists that there's something. So if you don't know, you are not aware. Sometimes when you run over, it is also very troubling, or it is very discomforting when you run on it. Okay. And then one other thing it does is, with time, it cuts into the road. If you are ready, anywhere they put those ropes, with time, it cuts into the road. And that's also introduce some form of defect. Okay, and we'll be the same person to come and complain that they are potholes or they are defects on the road. So it is not allowed. So please, those of us who have been introducing such, I think when you have a concern, yes, raise it with the authorities, and for them to introduce the proper, they'll come and assess, engineers will come and assess the situation. And if there's a need for them to introduce a speed ramp, then they'll do so with the accompanying with road signs, just to alert and warn motorists of the furniture.
Right. So yes, we have some videos. I think they'll be played very soon. Some videos and images that you can take to for us. And I would like to say viewer discretion is advised. It's a bit triggering. Some of the accidents and crashes are not very savory for those who are prone to PTSD. So we apologize in advance.
You said earlier we're looking at some of the causes of the crashes, and so yes, this definitely will happen on the Accra, Kumasi, on the highway, and sometimes when you most of the causes will be wrongful overtaking, and like I said, once they are overtaking, speed comes in. If you're overtaking, then speed comes in. And before you realize, they just go and crash into. And once, like I mentioned, if there's speeding, then the impact is also, the impact felt is also very great. Okay. If there's no speeding, or if you are within the posted speed limit, and then even there's a crash, the level of impact wouldn't be that as severe as we are seeing. But ordinarily, you see people doing, typically on a highway where we're not supposed to be doing even more than 90 kilometers, but you see people doing more than even 160, 180 kilometers. And once the speed, and then also the weight of the vehicle also adds up. Okay. Right. The weight or the mass of the vehicle together with the speed, then it also makes it too devastating.
So I'd like us to talk about improving maybe motorist behavior, because I just saw a wrongful turn here. Now, now we're seeing a motorbike.
You see, I mentioned indiscipline. All these things are acts of indiscipline. Because where the driver made a U-turn, he was not supposed to make a U-turn.
Yes. Now we even have a motor rider. I don't know how he crashed into.
Yeah. So sometimes when these things happen, you tend to then ask, how did this happen?
How did this happen?
You see, we have a lot of distracted driving. Also adding up to distracted driving or distracted driving. And that is also one of the areas that we also have to look out for. And that one, almost every motorist is also a corporate. Now, when we mention distracted, what is distracted driving? As part of the human errors, distracted driving is doing anything outside the driving or you're riding, anything that is not part of the driving. Okay, anything you are doing whilst you are a driver in charge of a motor vehicle, doing anything that is not part of the driving is distracted driving.
Okay.
Sometimes it can even be in the cognitive, in your mind. Sometimes you are thinking about something outside the driving. So you have somebody even driving on the road and the person's mind is not on the road, but the person is there. Your mind is somewhere else.
Right.
So all these things, and sometimes physical, sometimes you are driving and something distracts you. Probably you're watching something outside your vehicle. It can be a billboard placed in the road median. So now the National Road Safety Authority, in recent times, we started doing some exercise around. We are going to continue.
Okay.
We are even engaging the assemblies in the coming, from next, somewhere in the mid of next month. You see us also doing a lot of this removal of these billboards from the road median because they are not even supposed to be there in the first place.
Okay.
But you drive around town and it's scattered all over.
All over the place, yeah.
So distracted driving, even a passenger in your vehicle can also even distract the driver. And once, like I said, if anything that is not part of your driving, once you take your eyes off the road and you are engaging with the passenger, imagine that if there's something in front of you, you will not be able to see. If there's a hazard in front of you, you will not be able to see it early and then react on time. Okay, so those are some of so almost all the videos you see on the road indiscipline is either somebody jumps the red light and crashes into another vehicle. You are not supposed to make a U-turn. They still make a U-turn. You have motor riders driving against traffic. Driving against traffic. And all these things are acts of indiscipline.
Right.
You have other forms of human errors.
What about the inadequate education? Because especially with our commercial drivers, the churchers, you realize that somebody has been a mate for a few years, then his master teaches him how to drive. So maybe he's not necessarily taken through the actual, road safety. Because I mean, there's a manual, there's a handbook that you as a motorist read. Yeah.
In Ghana, from what I know, we are all supposed to go through a driving school. Okay. That is how it's supposed to be.
Okay.
Yeah. So anytime I engage drivers or my participants, I ask them, how did you learn how to drive? Okay, and you hear some of them, my sibling, my dad, my friend taught me how to drive. Some of them will even say, I'm a mechanic, I learned it on my own.
Okay.
See, but what we are saying is driving is not just about knowing how to move the vehicle. That is not all. You may have the skill, you also need the knowledge part of it. Okay, that is why we recommend that even if you know how to move the vehicle, you still have to go through the driving schools where you are taught, even there are rules and laws and laws governing our behavior on the road. You are supposed to know all these things. But if somebody teaches you, does the person add those things to it? The road signs and road line markings, when you go to the driving school, they teach you all those things. So if somebody teaches you, the person add all those components of the driving. So if the fact that you can move a vehicle doesn't mean you are qualified to be on the road. So we have a lot of unqualified drivers on the road. That's why you see most of these crashes happening, because they do not understand, apart from moving the vehicle, they see road signs and I don't know whether they think it's just
right.
I don't know what they think it is, because sometimes we do in-traffic education, okay, and you ask drivers simple road signs and they are not able to interpret them. You see simple no overtaking, which I think that one is basic. Anyone, not even drivers, anybody at all can, once you see, but you see drivers telling you they don't understand it. So imagine if such a driver is traveling and is on the road, then there's a no overtaking sign, probably is in a curve. You see the no overtaking, he doesn't understand. So you go and overtake and you go and crash into another oncoming vehicle.
So with the education, before we come to the video about the tires and get some more education, with the education, are there, avenues to teach the people who are not necessarily literate? So let's say the image is there, then there's a writing or something. Maybe are there teachers that are able to, or that have been employed to teach in the local dialects, or some in a more comfortable way for some of the people who we may call semi or illiterate?
Yeah, so for us, for example, when we got to know that most drivers out there, motorists, when I say motorists, so motorists, we are referring to drivers and even motor riders. Okay. When you say motorists, you are referring to drivers and motor riders. Yeah, so we realize that most of these people do not understand the road signs and road line markings per engagement with them. So we started doing the National Road Safety Authority. So we have printed some of these road signs, at least the common ones we are likely to see. So now when we go to their terminals, we engage them, we ask them to identify, and those that they are not able to, then we teach them the right things. And so that's how we are. And we also advocate that even because we cannot, and this one I must also be frank, we also have our challenge as the National Road Safety Authority. So sometimes when we are talking about education, yes, I know that most of these people, even when we learn, we forget. And so it's always good for us to remind ourselves. That's why if you, the media, you play critical role when it comes to information, churning out information to the general public. Because normally what I do, I may just talk to a few people, but once you, the media, also come in to help, then everybody is getting to. Now, I'm sure if we have to show just one road sign here, imagine the number of people who are watching, and they'll be able to also learn. But when I just go to one person, it's just one person. But you, the media, that's why we rely on you. You are one of our key stakeholders when it comes to road safety management. We cannot do anything without you. So that's why we really appreciate the work you do as a media. And we recommend that others who are not doing similar things will also copy from you, so that together we can help improve the knowledge of all our users. Make sure all these figures that we are seeing come down or reduce.
So then I would like to suggest, if there's a way, maybe as an authority or maybe whatever appropriate stakeholders would be involved, so that they can sort of compel these driving schools to take on the teaching in the more informal way for some of these people. Because I'm sure that some of these drivers too say, exam, because I know with the driving school you have to write an exam and things. So if maybe they can devise a way to teach people who are not particularly literate to the extent where they can write an exam, maybe that could also help. So now they know that, even if you are a dropout or you never went to school, you can still go and get a semi-formal education on how to, or as a driver, so you know the road signs. So these signs are explained to you in not necessarily English, but other languages. Do you think that is something that could work?
Yeah, but in the first, I don't think the driving schools only deal with literates. Okay. So you can just go to it, and I know when you go, I'm sure when you go there, they assess you and then know the language you are comfortable with, and they'll be willing to teach you in any language of your choice. And even now, DVLA, as part of their reforms, they are saying that yes, it's not everybody who can read and write the English language, and so they are even the computer-based test. They are bringing it into the local languages. So when you go, if it's Dagbani that you want, you can speak.
But if a person cannot read English, how are they going to read? So they can
read to you, and then you select your answer. Then you select. You read the answers. Then you select your answer.
Right.
Yes. So that is also done.
Okay. So let's go to the videos. Yes, we saw some tires and some information on the tire markings and all that. Then you can speak to that for us. Then we answer one question here quickly and wrap up.
So we're looking at some of the causes of road traffic crashes. And please, if you can pause here, let's talk about, let's do one at a time.
All right.
Yeah, so now when we're looking at the mechanical failures or things, so mechanical failures have to do everything concerning the vehicle. So the vehicle, one of the components of the vehicle is the lighting, or the lamps. And these ones help us. The lamps help us to see at night, especially when we are driving on our road. But what we are also realizing is most people also fit some unapproved lamps.
Okay, so there are approved ones.
Yes.
Is it the yellow one or the white one?
Yes, so I'll come there. Now, when all these things are regulated in the law,
okay.
This is Regulation 65 of the LI 2180. That's the Road Traffic Regulation 2012. Gives us some guidelines as to even the type of lights we can use. So first of all, it should be approved by the licensing authority. Your lights, okay? So it talks about ideally or generally 4 things. So intensity of the light, the color of the light, the positioning of the light, and also I mentioned color, positioning, number, and then the intensity.
Yeah.
As for intensity, me here, I will not be able to use my eye to determine whether the lights that you are using, they are of the required or approved intensity. That one is a DVLA. They have the equipment to be able to determine. But when it comes to the number of lights, the law is saying that apart from your headlights, you can have 1 or 2 other flood or spotlights.
Okay.
Okay. And even with that one, when you switch it on, they should have different switches. But some of them, they just connect everything together. As soon as they turn on one, everything comes. And then the positioning of the lamps, it should give you the width of the vehicle.
Okay, so that someone...
So at least in the night, when you're coming in, you switch on your lights, we'll be able to determine, this will be the width, the size of the vehicle coming. But sometimes, their headlights are not working. They go and buy, now, this China lights, and then they fit it in the middle.
In the middle?
In the middle. So sometimes you can have 2 small ones in the middle.
Okay, I think I've seen
that.
And
you see a whole big truck coming with you, and you see some small lights. So in the night, you may think it's even a motorcycle coming. Before it gets to your side, then it's a whole truck.
Okay.
And sometimes too, some of them also fit some. See the bar, the one. So these are some of the lamps we have taken or we have removed from some vehicles. The National Road Safety Authority, and then the police. Sometimes we do this joint enforcement together on the road. So when we see you having any of this, then we stop and then take them down.
Is there room for what we call pimping your car, speccing it up a little? So maybe you want to put some extra...
If you want to pimp your issue, that's what I said, the law is there for us, and the law guides us. If there's no law, then everybody will be doing anything they want. There are rules on the road, and that's what we all have to... So even as much as you want to pimp your vehicle, there are specifications. So you pimp your vehicle according to the specifications.
Okay. Now there are some people that tend to put lights on the...
So it is all unapproved. The positioning.
It's not approved.
Positioning. See, positioning. They are saying that even when you switch on your light, it should not project above the bottom of your windscreen.
Okay.
So any light that is put on this, once you put it on, it projects above. So automatically all those lights on the roof. So those ones are the ones you see like the bar.
Yeah.
So that one, when I see, I don't even need it. I will just take it down.
But like police cars.
Yes.
They have blue, white, red at the top there.
At the where?
The top of the car on
is
the
that,
roof.
Is that how do you call it?
Oh, that one. Okay.
No, this is not. We are talking about your headlights.
Yeah.
Headlights that throws. This one is not the headlights.
Okay, so what if someone gets something similar to what the police use? Maybe a nice color, maybe some pink.
For what? There, like I said, you see the purpose of your vehicle. I mean, those. I know the ambulance and those. How do you call them? The bullion vans and those things. They are approved to use those lights. Okay, but as a private, you cannot just go and fit any light and be using. No. Yes, so those ones come with approval. So you need approval before you can use such lights.
Right. So
and
now, let's
the same applies to. So the color, the law is also saying that your headlights can either be white or yellow.
Okay.
White or yellow. These are the only two approved in Ghana. So if you put green lights, brown, red as your headlight, if I see you, I will remove them. We are even supposed to prosecute you.
Okay.
Yes, because you're not supposed to use those lights there. Okay. And then when you come to the tail lights, brake lights can be red as well as your reverse lights white. So the law specifies the kind of lights you can use.
Right.
And those lights, sometimes when you step on the brakes, and they'll be all those things are not approved. So sometimes when we see you on the road, we'll just take it down.
Right.
And I think it's one of the exercise we started, but we have to revisit because I've seen that when you are driving, and most of these have gone to fit them. And please, those who are also importing such lights into the country, it's okay to get a time. We also come after you because you are not supposed to even bring them in the first place.
Okay, so let's go to the tires. I saw something. It seems there's information on your tires. And Yes.
Yeah. So, in fact, on the tires. So what you just saw.
The previous slide.
If you can check the previous image. Yes. So in fact, this is a vehicle that was moving, and we saw this, and I asked, I don't know, how can you move your vehicle with such a tire? Okay, but what we need to know is, as motorists or as owners of vehicles, now again the law regulation is it 64 the 64 or 62? I have to check, confirm. Also gives us some specification of information about tires that we have you can fit under your vehicle.
Okay. Yes, this is the slide I saw.
Yes. So every tire has a manufactured date of manufacture on it. Every tire that meets standards has date of manufacture on it. But currently, I know that the law requires that. The law is saying that we should not use a tire, but that law is being amended.
Okay.
To, if my memory serves me right, instead of from 4 years to now 6 years. So even if you are going according to, but the new regulation, which is 6 years, but it has not come into being. So currently, we are still using the 4 years.
Okay.
So the law is saying that the current law is saying that do not fit a tire that is more than 4 years from the date of manufacture.
Okay. But how long? So if I get a tire that was manufactured yesterday for my car,
perfect.
How long should I use that tire before I consider?
So the law is saying do not use a tire that is more than 4 years. So if it was manufactured today, so and you can use it for the next 4 years. Okay. Hallelujah.
Right.
So means after the 4th year, you're supposed to change the tire. That is what the existing law is saying. But like I'm saying, it's being worked on to change it from the 4 years to 6 years. If
it is 6 years, wouldn't the tire become like the image we just saw? If it's extended?
So it is because sometimes it may be produced today, but not used now until maybe. So some of the tires, you can go and buy a brand new tire. It still has 2022 or 2023 on it.
What if I buy a brand new tire that was manufactured 4 years ago?
Is that something per the current law, even if it is brand new and it was manufactured 4 years ago, that is 2021. And you check the week. So normally you see 4 digits now. So 21, sometimes you like basically it is 21, 20, 21. So the first 21 is telling you the week in the year that the tire was manufactured. Then the last 2 is telling you the year.
Okay.
So if it's 21/20, it means the 21st week in 2021.
Okay.
21st week in 2020, that was when the tire was made. So if you add 4 years, it means the 21st week in 2024, the tire would have served its purpose. So don't use it after that
but here's the case, it does not even work.
It's not about here, it's not the case. Tire is made of rubber and chemicals.
Okay, so once, integrity...
So let's say it has its own expiry.
Okay.
Just like drugs. Right. We are saying that even though it has not been used before, but once the date has exceeded it, do not. That's why it is not good for the companies, and it is not good to buy and hoard tires. If you're not ready to use them, do not go and buy and hoard them, because you can buy a tire and hoard them for before you realize the 4 years has already elapsed. Then the 5th year before you know. We are saying that just compare it to you buying a footwear. When you buy shoes, you don't wear it for that. You keep it in your room.
Yeah.
The very first day, what happens?
It's to fall apart.
It's the same thing. Okay. So you can go and buy a tire from a shop thinking it's new without checking the dates. When you are running on a motorway or on a highway and you like speeding, once you speed, then the heat is not able to display, and then it comes off. Then you go, oh, yeah, it was yesterday I bought the tire. So these are some of the causes of the crashes, tire bursts we are seeing on the roads. And not only that, those who are even now providing services, the vulcanizers, the vulcanizers, some of them also sell tires too. And now the complaint you're also getting is some of them, now when you go and change your tire, they keep the old tire and sell it, resell So this is Ghana use, selling of Ghana use tires.
Wow.
And the kind of equipment they are also using to service our tires, whether they are well calibrated, and then whether even those persons, the organizers have received training. Okay, so the National Road Safety Authority, now the National Road Safety Authority, per the new regulation, we are supposed to regulate all those people providing road safety related services. So organizers, mechanics, because we believe that they also contribute to the crashes on our roads. It's a whole lot of conversation. So maybe at another time we can talk about those things.
Okay. Yeah. We will definitely have a part 2 of this because we have a question about the demolition of the billboards, but our time is up. So I'd like to take your closing remarks, admonish Ghanaians to do better on the roads quickly, then we wrap up.
All right, so I just want to, before we end the session, I just want to caution all of us as Ghanaians. We've all have seen the statistics and how it's looking very bad. And you see, sometimes when you mention the numbers, these are not monies we are going to pay. These are lives that have been lost on our roads. And even what we say is, these are even what have been recorded and reported. We believe that there are so many of them that have even occurred without being reported. So if we were to add all those ones, the figures will even be more than what we are seeing. But because officially, this is what we have, that is why we are reporting these figures. And so, what we are asking all of us, all of us, to be disciplined on our roads. And once we are disciplined on our roads, trust me, most of these crashes we see on our roads will not occur. And once we are all being careful, of course, we also need to be careful so that in the next time when we are reporting the crash statistics, you will not be part of the figures that we are reporting. And so that is what I want to, and also now questioning we the agencies who are responsible for providing some road safety interventions that we should be also up and doing. And whilst I'm calling on we the agencies, we're also pleading that the government should also make things, give us the necessary logistics to be able to work well. Because when it comes to road safety management, the fire service, they also play critical roles. So when it comes to emergency response, and then the police, of course, National Road Safety Ambulance Service, the National Road Safety Authority, DVLA, and they should provide all the enabling environment. And when we are doing our work, especially with regards to enforcement, that interference should cease. And passengers, sometimes passengers, when we stop vehicles, it's the passengers who even defended drivers. So let's all and then we stay safe on our roads. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you all so much for sending in your comments and questions. Thank you so much for your time. We hope to see you next Tuesday in the month of August. Bright and early. Do have an amazing weekend ahead.